The bank alert came while I was standing in the lighting aisle at Home Depot, holding a brass porch fixture against my chest like I'd already bought the house it belonged to. Withdrawal $61,000. For a few seconds, I honestly thought the comma was a decimal point. Then I called the bank, answered 4 security questions, and learned that one of the account owners had made the withdrawal in person 28 minutes earlier. There were 2 account owners. I drove straight to my parents' house. Dad was at the kitchen table with his coffee and the morning paper folded to the sports section. Mom stood at the counter slicing strawberries one at a time, which was how she did things when she wanted the room to remain calm through force of produce. "Where's my money?" Dad lowered the paper. "Sit down, Aaron. Where is it?" Aaron was about to lose his house. Mom's knife stopped. Dad looked straight at me. "Your brother has a family. You have time to rebuild. I was supposed to close on my house in 11 days. Okay, I said. Give me the receipt." That was the moment his face changed. Not when I asked where the money was, not when I told him he had destroyed my closing, when I asked for the receipt. His eyes shifted toward the junk drawer beside the refrigerator, and I knew 2 things at once. Paperwork existed, and my father was afraid of what it said. The brass porch light was still on the passenger seat of my car. I hadn't paid for it. I'd carried it halfway to the register before the bank notification came through, then set it on a display of discounted ceiling fans and walked out. I kept thinking about that light while Dad stared at me across the kitchen table. "Receipt for what?" he asked. "For $61,000. You know what it was for?" "No, I know what you said it was for." "Aaron," Mom said softly. I turned to her. "Did you know?" She put the knife down. There were 6 perfect strawberry slices on the cutting board and 1 mangled end piece near her thumb. "Your father said Aaron was in trouble." "That wasn't my question." "Don't interrogate your mother," Dad said. "I'm not. You came storming in here. I walked in. You nearly took the screen door off. The screen door hasn't closed properly since 2019. Mom glanced at it, which was almost funny. I had offered to fix that door 3 times. Dad always said he had a guy. The guy, as far as I could tell, was being held overseas without bail. Dad pushed his coffee away. Aaron's mortgage was behind. He lost that commercial account in April and things snowballed. The bank wasn't going to wait for him to get back on his feet. So you took my down payment. I moved money where it was needed most. I looked at him. That was Dad's gift. He could rearrange a sentence until the person harmed by it sounded unreasonable for objecting. He hadn't taken my money. He had moved it. Aaron hadn't failed to pay his mortgage. Things had snowballed. I wasn't buying my first home after 8 years of saving. I simply had time. "Did Aaron ask you to do this?" Dad rubbed one thumb along the edge of the newspaper. "Did Aaron know it was my money? I'm not dragging your brother into a fight between you and me. There wasn't a fight between you and me when I woke up this morning." Mom opened a cabinet, took out 3 mugs, then appeared to realize we already had drinks. She put them back. "Could we call Aaron and talk about this together?" "No," Dad said. I said yes. Dad's voice sharpened. "He's dealing with enough." I pulled out my phone. "Don't," he said. I stopped with Aaron's name on the screen. My brother and I weren't enemies. That would have been simpler. Aaron was 6 years older and had taught me how to drive in an empty church parking lot after Dad made me cry during my first lesson. Aaron was the person who mailed me a plastic tiara when I got promoted at work because he said assistant purchasing manager sounded like something a princess would invent. He also owed me $2,300 from 3 separate emergencies and referred to all 3 as that thing from before. He could make you feel chosen while he was asking for your last favor. I looked at Dad. "Was he with you at the bank?" Mom inhaled. Dad leaned back. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you don't know his mortgage account number. I have information about my own son. You called me last month because you couldn't find the routing number on a check. That's different. You wrote the routing number in the memo line. I was distracted. You mailed it." "Aaron," Mom said again, firmer this time, "you're upset." I laughed once. It came out ugly. I'm supposed to be upset. There are appropriate times to be upset, Mom. This made the list. 11 days earlier, I'd been sitting on the floor of the house I was trying to buy, eating a turkey sandwich with my real estate agent, while the inspector crawled under the kitchen sink. The house was on Marlowe Street, 26 minutes from my office and 9 minutes from my parents'. It had 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a dining room so narrow that any table wider than 36 inches would turn every meal into an obstacle course. The seller had painted every wall a color called coastal fog, including the basement stairs and the inside of the linen closet. I loved it immediately. Not because it was beautiful. It wasn't. The upstairs hallway leaned slightly to the left, and the detached garage had a family of squirrels with what appeared to be a long-term lease. But the front porch faced west. There was an old apple tree in the backyard. The smaller bedroom had morning light, and I could picture a desk under the window. The inspector emerged from beneath the sink and said, "Good news. That's not mold." My agent, Camille, lowered her sandwich. "What's the bad news?" "I don't know what it is." That was the kind of house it was. I'd gone home from the inspection with a list of repairs, 3 paint samples, and a happiness so private I didn't want to tell anyone about it too quickly. I wanted 1 week where the house belonged only to me in my head. Before Dad explained that the garage was too small and Aaron suggested knocking down a wall he would never help me knock down. I did tell Mom. She cried and immediately asked which room would be hers if she ever needed to stay. "The one with the good light," I told her. I meant it. Now she stood across from me in the kitchen where I had spent half my adulthood solving problems that arrived in somebody else's name. I had paid their electric bill online when Dad locked himself out of the account. I had driven Mom to a follow-up appointment because Dad scheduled an oil change for the same morning. I had spent 3 Sundays sorting receipts for Aaron's contracting business after he discovered that a grocery bag was not an accounting system. No one had forced me to do those things. That mattered. I had said yes, often before they finished asking. Maybe that was why Dad seemed genuinely offended by the idea that this yes should have been mine too. "You left my name on that account," he said. "You trusted me to make decisions. I left your name on it because you opened it when I was 17. And who put the first $500 in?" "Grandma." His mouth tightened. Mom reached for the strawberries again, then stopped herself. "Can the closing be delayed?" I stared at her. She looked embarrassed. "I'm only asking." My lender verifies the funds before closing. Even if the seller agrees to wait, where exactly would the money come from? "Aaron will pay you back," Dad said. "When?" "He's working on it." "What does that mean?" "It means he's working on it." "Did he tell you that before or after you gave him my money?" Dad stood so quickly his chair scraped the tile. Enough. He was not a large man, but he knew how to fill a room. At 67, he still carried himself like the supervisor he had been at the municipal garage. Shoulders square, chin lifted, every disagreement one safety violation away from getting somebody sent home. I stayed seated. "Get me the receipt," I said. "This family is not a courtroom." I didn't say it was. "You want paperwork? Fine, I'll get you paperwork." "Then what?" "You call the police on your own father?" Mom whispered. "Frank." I felt something cold move through me, clean enough to steady my hands. I didn't say anything about the police either. "Then stop acting like I stole from you." "What word would make you more comfortable?" His face reddened. Mom stepped between us, though neither of us had moved. Everybody needs to take a breath. Dad pointed toward the hallway. "I did what a father is supposed to do." "For which child?" Silence landed so hard even Mom didn't rush to cover it. Dad's hand dropped. I had never said it that plainly. We had a family language designed to prevent plainness. Aaron needed more support because he had more responsibilities. Aaron understood because Aaron was practical. Aaron took chances because he was brave. Aaron stayed cautious because Aaron liked security. When Aaron got help, it was an investment. When I got help, it was unnecessary. Dad walked past me toward the refrigerator. The junk drawer was immediately to its left. He opened it and began moving things around. Batteries, takeout menus, a roll of tape, 2 screwdrivers, the owner's manual for a toaster they no longer owned. Mom watched him. I watched Mom. "You knew he went to the bank," I said. "I knew he was going to help Aaron." "With my account?" She pressed her lips together. That was answer enough, but not a complete one. Dad pulled out a white envelope with the bank's green logo on the corner. He held it without turning around. "I told him you would be hurt," Mom said. "Hurt?" "I told him we should talk to you first, but you didn't." He had already made up his mind. I looked at the back of Dad's shirt, at the small permanent grease stain below one shoulder from a career he had retired from 7 years earlier. It was an old shirt. Mom had probably tried to throw it away 5 times. Dad kept rescuing it from the donation pile. "Did you try to stop him?" I asked. Mom looked down at the strawberries. Dad turned and tossed the envelope onto the table. "There," he said. "You wanted your receipt." The envelope landed beside his coffee. I reached for it, but he put his hand flat on top. "You need to understand something first. Aaron was days away from losing that house. Dana has been covering groceries. His crews still expect to be paid even when his customers don't pay him. He didn't have choices. I had a choice." Dad lifted his hand. Inside the envelope were 3 pale yellow carbon copies and a printed confirmation page. The first cashier's check was made payable to Aaron's mortgage lender for $46,800. The second was for $9,700 and change, payable to the state tax department. The third went to a heating company I recognized because Dad had recommended it to me during my inspection. I added the numbers even though the total was printed at the bottom. My entire down payment, divided into 3 neat rescues. Then I saw the signature beneath the line marked Customer Acknowledgement. It wasn't Dad's. I had watched Aaron sign enough birthday cards 5 minutes before dinner to recognize the oversized A and the final letter that trailed off like he'd gotten bored halfway through his own name. I turned the page toward Mom. Her hand went to her mouth. Dad said nothing. I took a picture of the signature and sent it to Aaron with one question. "What exactly did Dad tell you I agreed to?" The typing bubbles appeared almost immediately. Then they vanished. My phone rang before I could put it down. "Aaron." Dad reached for his coffee. "You didn't need to do that." I answered without taking my eyes off him. "Hey, what are you doing at Mom and Dad's?" No hello, no confusion about my message. "Looking at your signature." A pause followed, then the sound of a door closing on Aaron's end. "Okay," he said. "I can explain. Did Dad tell you I agreed?" "He said he talked to you." "That's not what I asked." "Aaron, it's been a nightmare over here." Dad made a small, impatient motion for the phone. I turned away from him. "Aaron, did Dad tell you those checks were coming from my house account? He said it was family money. What does that mean?" "I don't know. Money in the family." I looked around my parents' kitchen. The refrigerator was covered with magnets from places none of us had visited. Nashville, Myrtle Beach, Mount Rushmore. Mom bought them at estate sales because she liked magnets, but apparently didn't believe geography should limit her. "There is no family money," I said. "There's Dad's money, Mom's money, your money, and my money. Which one did he tell you it was?" Aaron exhaled into the phone. "He said you were going to be okay." Dad nodded as if this supported him. "Did he tell you I said yes?" "He said he handled it." That was Aaron's version of plain speech. He moved around the truth until it got tired and sat down. "Put Dana on. She's at work. Then when she gets home, tell her where the money came from. I'm not involving Dana in something between us." I laughed, and Dad's expression tightened. Apparently, the phrase ran in the family. $9,700 went to your business taxes, I said. "I think Dana's involved. You don't understand what happened with the state." "I don't need to. I understand the check. And the furnace died. Completely. The guy said it could have leaked carbon monoxide. Stop listing things your life needed. I know you needed the money. I'm asking why that made it yours. It didn't make it mine. Then give it back." The silence stretched. Mom picked up the strawberry knife and carried it to the sink, though it was already clean enough to put away. Dad kept watching me with an expression that said I was making a bad situation worse, which was his favorite accusation when the bad situation belonged to somebody else. Aaron lowered his voice. "I can't do that today. I close in 11 days. I know." That word hit differently. I gripped the phone. "You knew?" "I knew it was coming up. You asked me last Sunday if I'd picked a paint color. That doesn't mean I knew the exact date. You knew I was buying a house. So did Dad." Dad stood. "Give me the phone." I ignored him. Aaron said, "Look, if you can push closing a few weeks, I've got 2 jobs that should pay out." Dad thought I could rebuild. Another pause. Then Aaron said, too carefully, "He may have said something like that." I looked at the 3 receipts spread across the table. Someone had printed the checks in order of importance: mortgage, taxes, furnace. My future had been itemized after everyone else's emergency. "Call Dana," I said. "Tell her. I'll give you an hour." "Aaron, don't make this a bigger—" I hung up. Dad set both palms on the table. "You had no right to threaten him. I told him to tell his wife the truth. You're trying to cause trouble in his marriage. He used my down payment to pay a bill attached to their business. I used it. He signed for it. Because I asked him to meet me at the bank. Why? The mortgage company needed information, so he stood there while you pulled $61,000 out of my account." Dad glanced at Mom. We weren't standing around celebrating. I slid the receipts back into the envelope. He reached for it. "Those stay here." I put the envelope in my purse. "Aaron, they're receipts for my money. They're my bank documents from my account. My name is on it." Mom turned from the sink. "Frank, let her take them." He looked at her like the toaster had offered an opinion. She dried her hands on a dish towel. "She needs them." "For what?" "To figure out what she's going to do." Dad pointed at my purse. "This is exactly why I didn't want to tell her until I had a plan." I stopped. Mom closed her eyes. It was a tiny movement, but Dad saw it too. "Until when?" I asked. He pushed back from the table. "That isn't what I meant. When were you going to tell me?" "I was going to replace it." "With what?" "Aaron has receivables. I have money coming due." "What money?" "I have options." Dad's options were a phrase, not a number. He used it when the water heater made a noise or the car needed tires. Usually the option was waiting until the problem became expensive enough for me to research it. "You knew I'd get a bank alert," I said. "I didn't know you had those turned on." Mom sat down. For the first time that morning, Dad looked ashamed. It lasted maybe 2 seconds, and then he aimed it at me like I had caused it. "You're acting like I wanted this." I stood and lifted my purse onto my shoulder. "I need to call my lender. Don't do anything until we talk tonight. We just talked." "No, you accused." I walked toward the front door. Mom followed me into the hall. "Aaron, wait." She caught up beside the little table where Dad dropped his keys. A framed photograph of Aaron and me sat there. I was 24, he was 30, and we were both sunburned at a Reds game. Aaron had his arm around my neck and was pouring popcorn over my head. Mom touched my elbow. "Are you going to be all right?" I looked at her hand until she let go. "I don't know. We'll fix it." "Who's we?" Her eyes filled immediately. Mom could cry from joy, anger, certain commercials, and any confrontation lasting longer than 4 minutes. It was real, but it also changed the job of everyone in the room. Suddenly, there was a crying woman, and whatever had happened before became less urgent than comforting her. I kissed her cheek anyway. Then I left. The brass porch light was lying on its side in my passenger seat. I stood there with the car door open, staring at it. I didn't remember bringing it out of the store. Then I saw the orange sticker on the box. "Display only, take tag to register." I had apparently stolen a display model while discovering my father had emptied my bank account. I picked it up and carried it back inside. The same employee was still working the lighting aisle. He looked at the fixture in my hands, then at me. Changed your mind? I accidentally walked out with this. He frowned. You stole a light. It wasn't intentional. That's what everybody says. I stared at him. He held the expression for one more second, then smiled. I'm kidding. You look like you're about to pass out. Family thing. Ah. He took the light. Those are usually worse than electrical. Back in my car, I called Camille. She answered on the second ring. Tell me you're not backing out because of the mystery under the sink. My down payment is gone. There was a pause, but unlike my family's pauses, hers contained actual thought. Gone how? My father withdrew it. All of it? Almost. Did he steal your identity? No. His name was on the account. Okay, I'm going to ask questions, and some of them may sound insensitive. Go ahead, can he return it? Not right now. Can someone else provide gift funds? No. Do you have other assets? I have $4,000 in checking and a 12-year-old Honda. The Honda isn't going to do it. It barely does transportation. She sighed. Call your loan officer before the next verification catches it. I'll talk to the seller's agent and see what kind of extension they might consider. Don't promise anybody a date. I leaned my forehead against the steering wheel. They have a backup offer. I know. Of course she knew. Camille knew everything about the transaction because that was her job. I had liked the clarity of buying a house. Every promise had a date. Every number had a line. Even the mystery beneath the sink had ended up in a report with photographs. How long do you think I have? I asked. Let me make the call. My loan officer was kind but not hopeful. Without the funds, the loan could not close. A sudden large deposit would need to be documented. A personal loan could change my debt ratio. There were ways to solve money problems, but none of them involved pretending $61,000 was still there. By the time I got back to my apartment, I had missed 3 calls from Dad, 2 from Mom, and 1 from Aaron. My apartment was the top half of an old duplex with radiators that clanged at night and a kitchen drawer that fell out if opened more than 6 inches. Half my books were already packed. The boxes made the living room look temporary in a way that had felt exciting the night before. I sat on the floor and opened the envelope again. Aaron's signature looked worse in my own home. My phone rang. Dana, I answered. Aaron. Her voice was tight. Are you home? Yes. We're outside. I went to the window. Aaron stood beside Dana on the sidewalk, hands shoved into the pockets of his work pants. Dana was still wearing navy scrubs under her coat. She looked up, spotted me, and raised one hand. I buzzed them in. Aaron entered first, carrying the defensive energy of someone already arguing in his head. We need to straighten this out. Dana stepped around him. Show me the checks. I handed her the copies. She read each one slowly. When she reached the signature, her jaw shifted. Aaron hovered beside her. Dad told me she knew. Dana didn't look up. That isn't what you told me. He went still. I said, what did he tell you? Dana raised her eyes to mine. He said you offered. For a second, none of us moved. Aaron looked at Dana. That's not what I said. It is exactly what you said. I said Dad talked to her. You said she offered. I said she was willing to help. Dana held up the cashier's check copy. Those words mean the same thing to people who aren't trying to escape them. Aaron glanced at me as if I had arranged this trap using his own sentences. I stepped back from the doorway. Come in or leave. I don't want to do this in the hall. They came in. The only place to sit was the couch, and half of that was occupied by a box labeled bathroom, although it mostly contained winter sweaters and a waffle iron. My packing system had deteriorated around the 4th box. I moved it to the floor. Dana sat. Aaron remained standing. The apartment looked different with them inside it. Smaller, older. The beige carpet had a dark path between the front door and kitchen that no amount of cleaning could lift. A radiator hissed beneath the window. On the coffee table, my 3 paint cards were fanned beside a tape measure. Juniper shade, soft clay, and a white called Whisper that looked exactly like every other white. Dana picked up the green card without seeming to notice. "When did Dad first talk to you?" I asked Aaron. He scratched the side of his neck. There was white paint dried near his wrist. "A couple weeks ago, before or after I made my offer. I don't keep track of every date. You signed the checks this morning. Try that date." His jaw tightened. "He called yesterday and said he found a way to help us." "What did he say about me?" "That you knew we were in a bad spot." "That's true. I knew business was slow. He said you'd rather wait on the house than watch us lose ours." Dana turned toward him. "You told me Aaron called Frank. I thought she had." "No, you didn't." "Dana, you told me she offered because I asked why she would do that when she was closing this month." Aaron looked toward the window. I said, "What was his answer?" Dana didn't want to tell me. That was clear from the way she set the paint card down carefully, lining it up with the others. "What did he say?" She looked at Aaron once, giving him the chance. He shoved his hands deeper into his pockets. "I said you had flexibility. Say the rest." "Aaron, come on." Dana did it for him. He said you could postpone because you didn't have anyone depending on you. The radiator knocked 3 times. It was such a familiar thought that hearing it aloud should not have surprised me. Still, I felt as if somebody had opened a window behind me. Aaron shifted his weight. "That's not how I meant it." "How did you mean it?" "I meant you're not in danger of putting anyone out on the street. I was buying a home for myself." "I know. Do I not count as someone?" "That's not what I'm saying. You keep saying things you're not saying." Dana closed her eyes briefly. Aaron turned on her. "Could you stop acting like you're on her side?" "I'm on the side where words have meanings. This affects you too. I know that. I'm sitting in the apartment of the woman whose money paid our furnace bill." He lowered his voice. "You were pretty happy to have heat." Her face changed. Aaron saw it and immediately regretted the sentence, but regret was not the same as taking it back. Dana stood. She was 5'3" and usually soft-spoken, which made people mistake her calm for a lack of temper. I had once seen her reduce a cable company representative to apologetic silence, using nothing but dates and the phrase, "That doesn't answer my question." "Do not use me as your excuse," she said. "I asked you where the money came from, and I told you what Dad told me. No. You improved what he told you until I could live with it." He looked at me. "Can we talk without making me the devil?" "I don't think you're the devil," I said. "Could have fooled me. I think Dad gave you a version you wanted to believe, and you helped him make it believable." He laughed without humor. "Great. Thanks for the psychological evaluation. You're welcome." Dana made a small sound that could have been a laugh if the room had belonged to somebody else. Aaron finally sat on the arm of the couch. He leaned forward with his elbows on his knees and looked older than 41. There were gray threads at his temples I had not noticed before. "The Rawson job put us down almost 90 grand, he said. They held the final payment over change orders they approved themselves. I still had to pay my guys. Then the mortgage reset and the state sent that notice and the furnace cracked. Everything hit at once. I had heard pieces of this. The client was cheap. The bank was inflexible. The state had no patience. The furnace had apparently chosen violence. "How far behind were you on the mortgage before Rawson?" I asked. His head came up. "What does that have to do with anything? So you were already behind, not like this." "How far?" 2 months. Dana stared at him. He looked back. "You knew cash flow was tight. You said you moved the payment date. I did move it. It moved right past the date because there wasn't money." She sat again, but this time on the edge of the chair across from him. I went into the kitchen and got a glass of water. The drawer under the counter slid out when my hip bumped it, dumping foil, batteries, and a potato peeler onto the floor. Aaron stood automatically. "Here, let me. Don't." He stopped. The word came out harder than I intended, but I did not soften it. I crouched and put everything back. The drawer had been broken since I moved in. I had mentioned it to my landlord twice, then learned to open it 4 inches at a time. Aaron could have fixed it in 10 minutes. In another version of the afternoon, he would have. He would have complained about the cheap slides, driven to the hardware store, and returned with the wrong size first because he refused to measure anything he believed he understood by sight. We would have ordered pizza. He would have teased me about the labels on my moving boxes. That was the problem with loving people who hurt you. They did not become strangers when they did it. I stood and drank the water. I need the money returned, I said. Aaron's face closed. I told you, I can't. All of it went out this morning. Call the mortgage company. Call the heating company. Tell them there was a mistake. The mortgage company will restart foreclosure. It wasn't your money. I understand that. No, you understand that now because I'm standing here. Dana said, How much is left in the business account? Aaron looked at her. We need that for payroll. How much? Maybe 11. 11,000? Before payroll. What about our savings? There isn't much. You said we had 6. We did. What happened to it? Dana, this is not the time. It is literally the time. He rubbed both hands over his face. My phone rang on the counter. Camille, I answered immediately. The seller will give us until noon Monday, she said. Her voice was brisk, which I appreciated. That's the best I could get. They don't want to lose momentum, and the backup buyer is already through underwriting. It was Thursday. What do I have to provide Monday? Proof that the funds are restored and an updated statement. Your lender may want documentation of the source. Across the room, Dana was asking Aaron another quiet question. He was not answering. Can we ask for longer? We can ask. I don't think we'll get it. I looked at my packed boxes. 4 days, I said. I'm sorry. No, you're doing your job. Do you want me to keep pushing? Yes. Then I will. When I hung up, Aaron had moved to the window. Dana stood with her arms folded, staring at his back. I have until Monday at noon, I said. He turned. That's not enough time. It was enough time to take it. Where do you expect me to get 61 grand in 4 days? Where did you expect me to get it in 11? He looked at Dad's receipts on the coffee table. Maybe Dad can borrow against something. What? I don't know. The house, Dana said. Frank still owes on the house. He has the camper. The camper isn't worth $60,000. I'm brainstorming, Dana. You're naming objects. Aaron paced 2 steps, reached a box, then turned. What about your retirement account? I thought I had misheard him. My what? You have a 401k, right? Sometimes you can borrow against it for a home purchase. You could put the money back in the account, close, then we repay the loan. Dana stared at him. So your solution, I said, is that I borrow my own stolen money from my future self. I'm trying to save the closing. You're trying to keep the money. That's not fair. Nothing you've said today has made that word safer for you. He walked into the kitchen and braced his hands against the counter. What do you want me to do, Aaron? Lose my house? Fire my crews? Tell the state we'll get back to them? You're talking like there was a good option, and we ignored it. There was an option where you called me, and if you said no, then it was no. He turned around. You don't know what it feels like to have that many people counting on you. Dana said his name, but he kept going. You have your salary, your apartment, your spreadsheets. Everything fits in its box. Some of us don't get to make every decision from a place of safety. I looked down at the box labeled bathroom, at the sweater sleeve sticking out beneath the lid. My safety was the money, I said. You took it. He opened his mouth, then shut it. Dana picked up her coat from the couch. We're selling the truck, she said. Aaron stared at her. No, it's worth at least 15. It's a work vehicle. You have the white van. The transmission slips. Then fix the transmission. With what money? She gave him a look. He dropped his head. Selling the truck won't save her closing. It returns part of what we took. We didn't take anything. Dad, you signed. Dana lifted the copy by one corner and held it toward him. He did not accept it. She laid it back down. I have $2,400 in my separate account. Aaron can have it tonight. I'm not taking all your savings. It bought my furnace. That check went directly to the company, Aaron said, as if direct payment cleaned the money on contact. Dana ignored him. I get paid Tuesday. We can give you that, too. I need $61,000 by Monday, I said. I don't need you emptying an account to create another emergency. Her mouth tightened. Then what do you want? I want both of you to write down what you owe me. I want dates. I want the truth about what happened without Dad translating it into a favor I forgot making. Aaron looked at me. You want an IOU? I want acknowledgement. We're your family. So was I this morning. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Dinner at 6. I have a plan. Everyone there. Aaron read my face. Dad? I showed them. He exhaled, relieved enough to anger me all over again. See? He has a plan. Your father's last plan put your name on my receipt, I said. Dana took her coat off again and sat down. What are you doing? Aaron asked. Waiting. For what? She looked at the clock above my kitchen door. For you to tell your sister whether you would have signed those checks if Frank had admitted she said no. Aaron glanced at me, then away. He did not answer. He did not have to. Dana waited another 30 seconds. Aaron rubbed the paint off his wrist with his thumb. I don't know. You do, she said. I know what I'd like to think I would have done. That isn't an answer. It's the only one I have right now. Dana looked at me. I'm sorry. Aaron flinched as if she had apologized for him, which she had. I gathered the check copies and put them back in the bank envelope. We should go to Mom and Dad's. It's not 6 yet, Aaron said. I need to call my retirement plan administrator before they close. His face brightened a little. See if you can take a home loan. Those have better terms. Dana slowly turned toward him. What? He said. If Dad's plan works, it keeps her closing alive. Dad's plan, I said, currently exists in one text message, and your imagination. I called from my bedroom because I did not want Aaron listening, and because the bedroom was the only room without boxes crowding the furniture. I sat on the edge of my bed and gave a polite woman named Tracy enough personal information to let her describe the various ways I could damage my own retirement. The maximum available loan was $18,600. Processing normally took 7 to 10 business days. A residential loan required a signed purchase contract, additional review, and more time. What happens if I take the general purpose loan? I asked. You repay it through payroll deductions over 5 years, and if I leave my job, the remaining balance may become due depending on your plan's provisions. I thanked her. Before hanging up, Tracy said, Congratulations on the house. I sat there after the line went quiet, looking at the stack of flattened moving boxes behind my closet door. When I returned to the living room, Aaron was fixing the kitchen drawer. He had removed it completely and set it upside down on the floor. His multi-tool was open beside his knee. I told you not to do that. You told me not to help when you were upset. I'm still upset. The slide is bent, I know. I can straighten it enough to get you through the move. He said it gently. That almost made it worse. Dana stood by the window with her arms folded. She looked as tired as I felt. The loan won't work, I said. Not enough money, not enough time. Aaron kept his attention on the drawer. How much? 18.6. That plus the truck gets us over 30. And the other 30? Dad's plan. You need to stop saying that like it's a location we can drive to. He pushed the metal slide into place with the heel of his hand. I'm trying. I watched him reinstall the drawer, open it, close it, and open it again. It worked perfectly. Thanks, I said. He nodded without looking at me. At 5:45, I followed them to my parents' house in my Honda. Aaron's restored black pickup filled my windshield at every red light. He had bought it as a rusted shell 6 years earlier and rebuilt it over hundreds of weekends. Dad had helped. I had delivered sandwiches, ordered a replacement mirror, and once driven 40 miles to pick up a transmission part because neither of them wanted to leave the garage. The truck was beautiful. That did not make it sacred. Mom had made meatloaf. The table was set for 5 with mashed potatoes, green beans, and the yeast rolls that came frozen in a tray, but that Dad always referred to as Mom's homemade rolls. A legal pad rested beside his plate. No one mentioned the fact that we were expected to eat. "Sit down," Dad said. "We can talk first," I told him. "Food's getting cold." Dana sat beside Mom. Aaron took his usual chair. I remained standing until Dad gave me the look he used when I was 14 and refusing to stop reading at the dinner table. I sat. Dad carved the meatloaf. I spoke to a man at the credit union. Mom looked up. "Which man?" "Dennis." "Dennis, who?" "You don't know him. What did you talk to him about?" "A home equity line." Mom put down the spoon she was using for the potatoes. "On this house?" Dad's knife paused halfway through a slice. "Just exploring options," he said. "You didn't tell me that. There wasn't anything to tell yet." I looked at Mom. "Now you know how it works." Dad placed a slab of meatloaf on my plate harder than necessary. Ketchup glaze slid onto the rim. "Can I explain my plan before everybody starts taking shots?" Dana said, "Please." He sat and turned the legal pad so we could see. Dad's handwriting was all capital letters, the result of decades filling out municipal work orders. At the top, he had written Aaron House Fund, underlined twice. Beneath that were 4 numbered items: truck, $15,000, camper, $12,000, 401k, $20,000, credit line, balance. He tapped the page with his pen. "Aaron lists the truck tonight. I've already called Pete Morrison about the camper, and he thinks 12 is reasonable. Aaron takes the retirement loan. Whatever remains, I cover through the line of credit." Mom stared at him. "You're selling the camper?" "We don't use it enough. We used it last month. We can buy another one later." "With what?" I asked. Dad ignored me. Aaron leaned over the page. "My truck is worth more than 15. Dana said, "Good. It could take weeks to sell if we want full value. We don't have weeks." Dad looked at him. "Pete might know someone." "Pete doesn't know trucks. He thinks anything built before 2005 is a classic. He knows people with cash." "Could everybody stop saying cash like someone has actually offered it?" I asked. Dad tapped the last line. "The credit union can cover the gap. By Monday? I'm meeting Dennis tomorrow. Is the line approved?" "It will be." "Did Dennis say that?" "He said the equity is there." Mom's expression sharpened. "How much equity?" "Linda, we're not discussing our finances at the dinner table. We are discussing our house at the dinner table. It's temporary." "So? Was Aaron's money?" Dana asked. Dad looked at her as though he had forgotten she was present. She spread her napkin across her lap. "I'm sorry, Frank, but I want to understand. Were you planning to replace all 61,000 before Aaron's closing?" "Yes." "How?" "The same way I'm trying to do now." "Then why didn't you do that before taking it?" Aaron said. "Dana." "No, that's fair," she said. "If these options existed yesterday, why was Aaron's account the first option?" Dad's nostrils flared. "Because Aaron needed the funds immediately. So does Aaron. Aaron was facing foreclosure, and Aaron is facing losing her purchase. There will be other houses." The sentence sat between the potatoes and the green beans. Mom looked at Dad. Aaron looked at his empty plate. I had expected him to say it. Maybe that was why it hurt in such a precise, unsurprising way. "Would you tell Aaron there will be other houses?" I asked. "It's not the same." "No, his already has his name on it." Dad pointed his fork at me. "You are determined to make this personal. It came out of my personal savings account. I am offering to put my own home on the line to fix it. Your home or Mom's?" His fork lowered. Mom pushed her chair back an inch. "Frank, how much do we owe on this house?" He frowned. "You know what we owe. I know what we owed 3 years ago. We refinanced the roof and the bathroom. We refinanced the roof. The bathroom was supposed to come from savings." Dad looked toward Aaron, an old reflex when the women at the table became unreasonable at the same time. Aaron did not rescue him. Mom said, "Did it?" "Part of it." "What part?" "This isn't relevant. It's relevant if Dennis is about to explain my house to me." Dad dropped his fork. It struck the plate with a sharp ceramic click. Fine. I'll take the credit line off the table. Then Erin can decide whether she wants a solution or whether she wants to spend the next week punishing everyone. I already called my retirement plan, I said. 18.6 is the maximum. It takes 7 to 10 business days. His confidence faltered. I pointed to the legal pad. The truck isn't sold. The camper isn't sold. The loan isn't approved. The credit line hasn't been applied for, and Mom didn't know about it. This isn't a plan. It's a list of things other people own. I own the camper. Congratulations. We're only $49,000 short. Erin stared at his plate, but I saw his mouth twitch. Under any other circumstances, Dad's offended expression might have made me laugh too. Dad tore the page off the pad, crumpled it once, and threw it toward the counter. It missed and landed beneath Mom's chair. Mom bent, picked it up, and smoothed it against the table. "Don't," Dad said. She folded the page in half and placed it beside her plate. Dana reached into her purse. "Erin and I need to sign something acknowledging what we owe." Dad leaned back. "Absolutely not." Erin looked at her. "You brought paperwork?" "I wrote a statement in the car." "You wrote it while I was driving?" "You weren't answering questions." She set a folded sheet on the table. "It says we received $61,000 belonging to Erin without confirming her consent, and we agree to repay the amounts used for our mortgage, taxes, and furnace." Dad didn't touch it. "Do you hear how that sounds?" "Yes," Dana said. "It sounds like an admission." "It is. To what? Accepting help from family? To accepting money that wasn't offered by the person it belonged to?" Dad turned to Erin. "You sign that, and she can use it against you." I said, "I'm sitting right here." "You haven't exactly been rational today." Mom unfolded his crumpled plan. "What would rational look like?" she asked. Everyone turned toward her. She kept her eyes on the page. "I'm asking, would rational be Erin losing the house quietly?" Dad's face softened, but his voice became more careful. "Linda, nobody wants that, and you knew she might. I knew there was a risk." Mom looked at me. The kitchen seemed to narrow around us. "You said he thought he could replace it," I said. "He told me he could. Did you believe him?" She ran her finger over the crease in the paper. "I wanted to." That answer was more honest than an apology and harder to accept. Erin picked up Dana's statement. He read it once, jaw working. Then he reached for Dad's pen. Dad put his hand over it. Erin looked at him. For several seconds, neither moved. Finally, Mom opened the junk drawer behind her, took out a blue ballpoint, and slid it across the table to her son. Erin took the pen. Dad lifted his hand from the table as if he had touched something hot. "Read it carefully," he said. I did. "You don't sign documents somebody writes in a car." Dana gave him a flat look. "It's not a will, Frank. It could still have legal consequences." "So did signing the checks," I said. Erin wrote his name at the bottom of Dana's statement. He pressed hard enough that the pen left an indentation in Mom's tablecloth. Then he dated it and pushed it toward his wife. Dana signed beneath him. The whole thing took less than 10 seconds. Dad stared at both signatures. Unbelievable. Erin put the blue pen down. "You told me she agreed. I told you she understood the situation. You said you handled it." "I did handle it." "Clearly," Dana said. Dad turned to me. "Are you happy now?" "No." "What else do you want?" "A statement from you." His laugh was immediate. "Not happening. I want you to acknowledge that you withdrew the money without asking me. I had authority on the account. That isn't the same as permission. It is to the bank. And that's the standard you want to use as my father?" Dad reached for his napkin, shook it open, and laid it across his lap. "I'm done being cross-examined in my own house." Mom looked at the untouched food. Nobody's eaten. For some reason, that made my throat tighten. She had cooked a full dinner because cooking was the one kind of intervention she trusted herself to make. She could not put the money back, force Dad to admit what he had done, or make Erin tell the truth in the right order, but she could mash potatoes until there were no lumps. I picked up my fork. The meatloaf was already cold. Dana served herself green beans. Aaron took a roll and split it without buttering it. Dad ate as if finishing his meal would prove the meeting had returned to normal. Mom watched all of us chew. It was the worst dinner we had ever had, which was impressive considering the Christmas Eve Aaron announced he had dropped out of community college to open a motorcycle detailing business with a man named Spider. Halfway through the meal, Dad said, "Pete's coming by tomorrow to look at the camper." No one answered. "I'm not sitting on my hands," he added. Mom said, "Thank you." Her gratitude made me angry, though I knew why she offered it. Dad required encouragement to continue doing things other people were already paying for. Aaron pulled the statement back and read it again. "We need a repayment schedule." Dana nodded. "Tomorrow. We don't know what the truck will bring. Then we write the schedule based on what we know." Dad cut a piece of meatloaf into smaller and smaller squares. $500 a month is realistic. At $500 a month, it would take more than 10 years. I said, "We'll talk after Monday." "Why?" Dad asked. "You wanted paperwork. I wanted the truth written down. I don't have enough information for a schedule. You're moving the goalposts. The goalpost is still $61,000. Mom closed her eyes briefly. I hated that the number had begun to sound like profanity at her table. After dinner, I helped carry the plates to the counter out of habit. Dad noticed. "There," he said, almost warmly. "We'll get through this." I put the plate in the sink. Don't mistake muscle memory for forgiveness. His expression hardened again. Mom followed me to the door. She held out a square plastic container with 2 slices of meatloaf inside. "I'm not hungry. For tomorrow." I took it because refusing leftovers felt crueler than I had energy for. She lowered her voice. "He'll sign something eventually. Did he tell you that?" "No." "Then don't promise for him." Her hand tightened around the edge of the container before she let go. Outside, Dana was waiting beside my car. Aaron stood near his truck, talking to Dad under the garage light. "I'm transferring the $2,400 tonight," she said. "No, it's mine." "I know. That's why I'm saying no. It paid for something in my house. And if you empty your account, what happens the next time your car breaks down? I figure it out. Then hold it until we know what happens Monday." She looked past me toward Aaron. "I should have asked you." "You did ask him. I should have asked you." I didn't tell her it was fine. It wasn't. I also didn't tell her she was as guilty as Aaron because she wasn't. "Why did you believe I offered?" I asked. Dana took a moment. "Because you do things like that." The answer hurt without insulting me. She tucked her hands into her coat pockets. "Not $61,000, obviously. But when our refrigerator died, you found us that floor model. When Aaron's insurance renewal got messed up, you spent your lunch break on the phone. When Linda needed someone to stay after her procedure, you brought a bag before anybody officially asked. I knew about those things." "I know." Behind us, Dad said something that made Aaron shake his head. Dana looked at me. "I think we all got used to the difference between asking you and informing you being smaller than it should have been." I drove home with Mom's meatloaf on the passenger seat. The next morning, I opened a new savings account at a different bank before work. I transferred the remaining $412.18 out of the old account and removed it from my phone. The old balance displayed as 0. I stared at it longer than I expected to. At the office, I approved purchase orders for surgical gloves, disinfectant, and 600 cases of paper drapes. I worked for a regional network of outpatient clinics, which meant my job was preventing medical staff from discovering at 7 in the morning that nobody had ordered gauze. Numbers usually behaved for me. If a clinic used 12 cases a week, I knew what it would need in a month. If a supplier raised a price 8%, I could show exactly where it hurt. No number ever accused me of being selfish for noticing it was gone. My supervisor, Celeste, stopped beside my desk around 10. "You've read that email 4 times. I'm being thorough. It says the Akron site needs more trash bags. They're very nuanced trash bags." She leaned against the cubicle wall. Celeste wore red glasses and had the unnerving management skill of wading through bad lies. "House trouble?" she asked. I nodded. Inspection, family. Oh. She straightened. Worse. Camille called at 11. The seller would not extend beyond Monday, but they had not formally canceled. If the funds appeared, we could still close late the following week. At 11:30, Aaron texted me a link to an online listing for his truck. He had priced it at $24,000. Dana sent a second text immediately afterward. Ignore price, we are discussing. Dad sent a photograph of Pete Morrison standing beside the camper with both hands on his hips. The caption read, "Working on it." Mom called during lunch. Dennis says the credit line can't be processed that quickly. I closed my office door. Did you go with Dad? Yes. Good. He was irritated I came. Also good. The amount they'll approve may not cover the difference anyway. We still owe more than I thought. There was embarrassment in her voice, though the debt was not mine to inspect. Did Dad explain the bathroom? He said costs ran over. The bathroom renovation had added a walk-in shower, new tile, and a vanity Dad chose because it looked expensive. I had spent one Saturday returning towel bars he ordered in the wrong finish. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I don't know yet." It was the same answer I had given her at the front door. We sat quietly on the phone. Then she said, "Pete only offered $8,000 for the camper. Is Dad taking it? He says it's insulting." "Of course he does." She almost laughed. By Saturday afternoon, Aaron had received 2 offers on the truck. One was for $16,000 cash. He rejected it without telling Dana. Dana found out because the buyer messaged her through a neighborhood sales group. Their argument spilled into the family group text when Aaron typed, "I need the truck to earn money," and Dana replied, "You have 2 other vehicles if we count the one on blocks." Dad told everyone to calm down. I muted the conversation. Camille called twice over the weekend to say there was no movement. She never used a falsely cheerful voice. I appreciated her more each time. On Sunday, Mom asked if I was coming to dinner. No. A small silence followed. I made chicken. I have meatloaf. That was Thursday. I froze it. We could all talk. We've talked. Your father thinks you're trying to punish him. I'm trying not to sit at a table where everyone discusses my life like an adjustable expense. She breathed out. All right. It was the first time she had accepted no, without decorating it with guilt. I spent Sunday unpacking the boxes I had packed the previous weekend. Not all of them. Just the kitchen things and enough clothes to stop living out of an open suitcase. I left my book sealed. Monday at 11:47, Camille called. "Nothing," she asked. Nothing. Dad had not sold the camper. Aaron had not sold the truck. The credit line had not been approved. My retirement loan application did not exist because I had refused to submit it. "I can ask one more time," she said. Would it change anything? Probably not, then don't make them say it twice. At 12:14, the cancellation agreement arrived in my email. The seller was moving forward with the backup offer. My earnest money would be released, but the inspection and appraisal fees were gone. There were electronic signature boxes beside my name. I closed my office door again. Outside, someone laughed near the copier. A delivery driver rolled 6 cartons down the hall, one bad wheel squeaking at regular intervals. I signed. Camille called after she received it. "I'm sorry, Aaron." "Me too. When you're ready, we'll find another one." I knew she meant it kindly. There would be other houses. I thanked her and hung up. At 4:30, Aaron emailed me 6 invoices with the subject line, "When you get a chance." He had sent me some version of that message almost every Monday for 3 years. I checked quantities, corrected customer addresses, and formatted the final copies before he sent them out. I opened the first invoice, then I closed it. I replied, "I won't be handling your billing anymore. Please remove my email from your business records." His call came less than a minute later. I watched my phone ring until it stopped. Then I took my books out of the boxes. I shelved them by height because arranging them alphabetically felt too ambitious for a woman who had just lost a house before lunch. The apartment slowly became an apartment again. Cookbooks returned to the kitchen. Framed photographs went back on the mantel. I put the tape measure in the junk drawer Aaron had repaired and discovered I could open it all the way without anything falling on my feet. My phone buzzed 3 times from the coffee table. Aaron left a voicemail on the 4th call. "Hey, I know you're mad. I'm not trying to push you, but those invoices need to go out tonight or it delays payment, which obviously delays you getting paid too, so call me." He managed to turn my refusal into a threat against my own repayment in under 20 seconds. I deleted the message. At 7:15, someone knocked. Aaron stood outside with his laptop tucked under one arm and a paper grocery bag in the other. I brought Thai food. "No," he lifted the bag. "It's chicken pad, CU. I know what Thai food is. I mean your order. I know my order too." The hallway light buzzed above us. Mrs. Delaney, who lived downstairs, opened her door 2 inches, assessed the situation, and closed it again. She believed all visitors after 7 were either romantic or law enforcement. Aaron shifted the laptop. "Can I come in? For dinner or invoices? Both. No." His shoulders dropped. "Aaron, I have 4 guys expecting checks Friday, so send the invoices. I don't know your system. It's your business. You built the templates. I built them because you were sending customers documents called Final Invoice New 2. They knew what it was. One of them was a blank spreadsheet. That happened once. Twice." He glanced at the closed door downstairs. "Could we not do this out here? You can come in if you understand I'm not doing the invoices." He nodded too fast. I let him inside. He put the food on the coffee table and opened his laptop beside it. The first thing on the screen was an invoice with 6 different fonts. I stared at it. "What?" he asked. "Nothing. I can see your face. My face no longer works for your company." He sat on the couch. "I'm not asking you to do all of them. Just show me what's wrong. You don't have a standard tax line. The invoice numbers don't match your job numbers. You changed the payment terms from 15 days to 50 days on this one, probably because you typed an extra 5. He leaned closer to the screen. "Okay, the customer address is in the description field. Does that matter?" "It mattered enough that you came here." He rubbed his forehead. "Can you fix this one while I watch?" "No." "Why not?" "Because you won't watch. You'll check your phone, complain that the software is stupid, and then next Monday you'll send me 8 invoices instead of 6. That's not fair. It's an exact description of the last 3 years." He looked at the books filling my shelves again. "So this is punishment?" "No. Punishment would be me agreeing and deliberately putting your routing number in the memo line." He almost smiled. So did I. The tiny shared reaction made the room more painful, not less. He picked at the corner of his laptop. "I didn't know you hated helping me." "I didn't. Could have fooled me. I hated finding out you thought my help belonged to you. I never said that. You came here after I said I was done, because I need you. That's not the same as respecting my answer." He leaned back. "You know, most people don't treat every favor like a legal contract. Most people don't take $61,000 and then complain about paperwork." His face closed. For a minute, the only sound was the radiator. I took a notebook from the end table and wrote down the steps for creating a clean invoice. I listed where he had saved the customer records, how to match job numbers, and how to export the final PDF. Then I slid the page toward him. "This is the last thing I'm doing for the business." He read the list. "You already knew all this," he said. "Yes." "You could have just done them in the time it took to write it down." "Yes." He shut the laptop. "Keep the food," he said. He left without it. The pad CU tasted like the restaurant had seasoned it with obligation. Dad called 10 minutes later. I answered because I wanted to know how quickly Aaron had reported me. "Your brother is trying to keep his company running," he said. "Good evening to you, too." You know what I mean. I almost never do. This is not the time to pull support from him. When would be convenient? After things stabilize. Things have never stabilized for Aaron. He's had a bad year. He's had a bad year every 3rd year since 2007. Dad breathed heavily through his nose. "You made your point. My point wasn't that I should be valued for 1 week and then go back to normal. Nobody said that. Aaron showed up with a laptop after I told him no. He has payroll. I had a closing. There was a pause. Dad lowered his voice. I'm working on the camper. Then work on it. Pete's offer is ridiculous. It's more than the $0 you currently have. You don't sell something for half its value out of spite. I'm not the one who created a 4-day deadline. The deadline is gone now. The casualness of it made me sit down. So the urgency is over? That's not what I said. You didn't sell the camper because you thought my house could still be saved. Now it can't, so you'll wait for your price. I'm trying to maximize what I can give you. You haven't given me anything. I fed you for 18 years. There it was. Dad did not usually say things like that. He preferred subtler accounting. The fact that he had reached for childhood expenses told me he had run out of adult defenses. You were legally required to feed me, I said. Everything is law and contracts with you now. No, only the things you refuse to do willingly. I hung up. The earnest money appeared in my new account 4 days later. It looked embarrassingly small after the down payment balance I had grown used to seeing. The inspection and appraisal had cost me $1,460 together. I entered the amount in a spreadsheet titled Walsh Repayment because anger was easier to carry when it had columns. Dana mailed me a check for $2,400, despite what I had told her. The memo line said, Furnace, partial. I called her. You shouldn't have emptied your account. I didn't empty it. I kept $300. Dana, I get paid Tuesday. That isn't the point. It is to me. In the background, I heard a cabinet close. Does Aaron know? I asked. He knows now. How did that go? He asked if I was choosing you over him. What did you say? That paying a debt isn't choosing a woman. I sat at my kitchen table with the check in front of me. Dana's handwriting was neat and narrow. I'm not depositing this until you have enough for an emergency, I said. We had an emergency. We used your money. I mean a new one. That's always been Aaron's argument. There might be a new emergency, so today's bill has to wait. I turned the check over. Deposit it, she said, please. I did. The first $500 payment was due the following month under the schedule Dana created, and Aaron reluctantly approved. It did not arrive. Aaron called 2 days after the due date. A customer check got held. Okay, I can get it to you next week. Put the new date in writing. He sighed. Do we have to do this every time? If you pay on time, we don't. I'm telling you what happened. And I'm asking you to make a specific commitment. You sound like a collection agency. You sound like someone avoiding a date. He promised Friday. On Friday, $300 arrived electronically. The other $200 came from Dana the following Tuesday. I entered both amounts separately. Dad sold neither the camper nor anything else. He sent me listings showing that similar campers were worth more than Pete's offer, as if the existence of a higher price online was repayment. I stopped responding. Mom's calls changed. At first, she found reasons to mention him. Your father's been quiet. Your father drove past that house on Marlowe Street. Your father says the camper market is slow this time of year. Each time, I told her I was happy to talk to her, but not through her. I'm not carrying messages, she would say. Then she would carry the next one. The first time she called about something else, she needed the number for the clinic where she had gone after her procedure. It's saved in the medical folder on Dad's computer, I told her. Can you look it up? I'm at work. You have the login. So does Dad. He can't remember it. There's a password reset. She went quiet. Could you do it when you get home? Before, I would have. I would have reset the password during lunch, found the clinic number, confirmed the appointment time, and texted Dad directions with a reminder to leave early because of construction. I'm not managing appointments anymore, I said. I'm only asking for the phone number. I know. This isn't about Aaron. It's about all of us. Her voice tightened. I've never taken money from you. No. You watched Dad do it. She hung up. I sat at my desk feeling mean for exactly 9 minutes. Then she texted me the clinic number with the words, found it. I replied with a thumbs up. Her birthday arrived with the first cold rain of October. Dad planned dinner at an Italian restaurant where the portions came on oval platters, and the waiters called every woman young lady. I went because it was Mom's birthday, not because the family had repaired itself. Dana hugged me in the parking lot. Aaron gave me a stiff, one-armed squeeze. Dad nodded as if we worked for competing insurance companies. Mom wore a green scarf I had given her the previous Christmas. She looked delighted to have all of us in one place and terrified someone might speak honestly. For 20 minutes, we succeeded. We discussed the restaurant's new carpet, Dad's war against the squirrels in his bird feeder, and a woman Mom knew from water aerobics who had married her optometrist. Then Aaron's phone rang. He stepped outside to take the call and returned looking aggravated. "Customer issue?" Dad asked. "Billing." Dad glanced at me. I buttered a piece of bread. Aaron said, "They claim the invoice doesn't match the estimate." "Does it?" Dana asked. "It would if they read it." Dad leaned toward me. "Maybe you could look at it after dinner." Mom closed her eyes. "No," I said. "It would take you 5 minutes. Aaron can handle it. He has enough going on." "So do I." Dad put down his fork. "You're still doing this?" The waiter arrived with a giant bowl of salad and sensed the atmosphere before reaching the table. He placed it between us and retreated without offering pepper. Mom said, "Frank, stop." I asked a question. "It's my birthday." That silenced him, but not gracefully. Aaron stared at the breadbasket. "She's right." Dad turned. "What?" Aaron looked at me. I should handle my own billing. It was not an apology. It was not repayment. But it cost him something to say it in front of Dad. Mom picked up the salad tongs. "Good," she said. "Now everybody eat." After dinner, Dad handed me Mom's coat while she went to the restroom. "She got the clinic number herself," he said. "I know. You made her cry. I know that, too." He waited for me to apologize. I folded the coat over my arm. When Mom returned, she took it and slipped one arm into the sleeve. Dad reached to help with the other, but she stepped past him and put it on herself. In the parking lot, she touched my hand. "I reset the password too," she said. "I'm glad. It wasn't difficult. No." She looked embarrassed by her own surprise. Then she glanced toward Dad, who was arguing with Aaron about the truck's asking price. "He keeps asking me to call you," she said. "You don't have to." I know. It was the first time she said it like she believed me. Dad looked over as Mom and I separated. "What was that about?" he asked. Mom adjusted her scarf. "Nothing." He waited. She walked toward their car. It was a small refusal, almost invisible, but Dad watched her the whole way. After that, Mom stopped delivering his weather reports. She called me about the woman from water aerobics, a recipe she had ruined by substituting yogurt for cream, and a cardinal that kept attacking its reflection in the kitchen window. Sometimes she started a sentence with "your father thinks," and caught herself. "I don't care what he thinks," she said once, sounding startled. I didn't say that. I know, I'm trying to. Trying to what remained unclear. But I understood. November settled in gray and wet. The apple tree behind the Marlowe Street house lost its leaves. I knew because I drove past one morning on my way to a clinic that had ordered the wrong size exam table paper. There was a moving truck in the driveway. I kept driving. At work, Celeste began leaving house listings on my desk as a joke. The first was a mansion with 9 bathrooms and a ballroom. The second was a converted fire station 2 counties away. "This one has a pole," she said. "I've always wanted to arrive in my kitchen with a concussion. You're too negative." I saved the listing anyway. Camille sent real houses every few days until I finally asked her to pause. "I'm not giving up," I told her. "I didn't say you were. I need the distinction on record. I'll put it in the file." I liked that she knew when to make things sound official. Aaron's payments arrived in pieces. 300 one week, 200 the next. Once Dana sent 400, and Aaron sent 117 minutes later, which told me they had been arguing near their phones. I recorded every payment. He never asked me to do another invoice. Dana took over at first, working on them after her shifts, but by mid-November, the emails came from Aaron himself. I knew because he accidentally copied me on one. The fonts matched. The job number matched. The payment terms said 15 days. I removed myself from the thread without commenting. Thanksgiving was normally a project I began in early November. I made a shared list, assigned dishes, checked Mom's roasting pan for rust, reminded Dad that frozen turkeys required thawing, and brought extra containers because no one else remembered leftovers needed somewhere to go. This year, Mom called me the Monday before. "Could you bring dessert?" "Yes. And maybe rolls?" "Sure." She paused. "That's all." "Okay. You don't have to ask what else." I wasn't going to. I know. I bought a pecan pie, made an apple crisp, and brought 2 trays of rolls. I arrived at noon on Thanksgiving Day because Mom said we would eat at 1. The turkey was still pink. Dad stood over it with a meat thermometer, accusing the oven of dishonesty. "This thing runs cold," he said. "It ran cold last year." "No, last year it cooked fast. That was because I turned up the temperature when you went to the garage." He looked at me. "You knew the oven was off?" "Yes." "And you didn't say anything?" "I told Mom in September. Mom was at the stove trying to keep mashed potatoes warm without turning them into paste." "She did." Dad stared at both of us. "Well, somebody could have reminded me today." I set the desserts on the counter. He looked behind me. "Where's the ice?" "What ice?" "You always bring ice." "You didn't ask me to." "You always bring it. I always checked whether you needed it. We need it. There's a gas station at the corner." He looked as if I had suggested we mine a glacier. Mom covered the potatoes. "Frank, go buy ice. The turkey has another hour. There are people coming. The people are already here." Aaron and Dana arrived 15 minutes later in Aaron's white work van. It pulled into the driveway with a high metallic whine. Dad went to the front window. "Where's the truck?" Aaron came in carrying a green bean casserole. Dana followed with wine and a bag of ice. "You're my favorite," Mom told her. Dana held up the bag. "I asked what you needed." Dad looked past Aaron toward the driveway. "Where's the truck?" "Sold it." The room changed. Dad turned from the window. "You sold it?" "Yesterday." "To who?" "Guy in Dayton." "How much?" $18,500. Dad's face went blank in the way it did when anger arrived faster than language. "You didn't tell me. It was my truck. I helped build it." "I know. We spent 6 years on that thing." "I know, Dad. You let some stranger from Dayton take it for $18,500? He paid what I asked. You were asking $24,000. No one was paying $24,000. Dad looked at me. I had done nothing except stand beside a pecan pie, but his eyes found me anyway. "You happy?" he asked. Aaron said, "Don't." Dad ignored him. "That what you wanted?" "I wanted my money returned." "It's not her fault," Dana said. "Nobody asked you." Mom slammed a wooden spoon onto the counter. It was not loud, but Mom did not slam objects. She barely closed drawers. "It is Thanksgiving," she said. "The turkey is raw, the potatoes are dying, and I have no idea where the cranberry sauce is. Frank, go buy the ice we no longer need and find cranberry sauce while you're there." Dana quietly lifted the bag in her hand. Mom looked at it. "Then just cranberry sauce." Dad put on his jacket and left. Aaron watched through the window as he backed out of the driveway. "I thought you told him," I said. "I told him I had an offer. You didn't tell him you accepted it." "He told me not to." Dana set the wine on the table, so Aaron decided not to invite another committee. Mom pressed her fingers to her forehead. I went to the stove. "What can I do?" The question came out automatically. Mom looked at me, then at the counters crowded with dishes. "Slice the rolls," she said. It was a specific request. I said yes. We ate at 2:30. The turkey was dry at the edges and suspicious near one thigh. Dad had returned with 3 cans of cranberry sauce and a jar of maraschino cherries because he thought they were on sale. No one knew what to do with the cherries, so Mom put them in a bowl. They glowed in the center of the table like warning lights. Dad barely spoke to Aaron. Aaron barely ate. Dana and Mom discussed a streaming show neither seemed to watch. I answered questions about work. No one mentioned the money, the truck, the camper, or the Marlowe Street house. After pie, Aaron touched my shoulder as I carried plates to the kitchen. "Can we talk outside?" I followed him onto the back patio. The air smelled like wet leaves and somebody else's fireplace. Dad's camper sat beside the detached garage beneath a blue cover. He had added tire protectors since the last time I saw it. Aaron leaned against the railing. "I transferred $17,000 this morning. I checked my phone. The deposit was pending." "What happened to the rest?" $1,500 to fix the van transmission." I looked toward the driveway. "It still sounds terrible. That's a different sound." "Good. It's a belt. Even better." He put his hands in his jacket pockets. Without the truck, he looked strangely unanchored. "Thank you," I said. He shrugged. "I mean it. I didn't do it for thanks. Why did you do it?" His jaw shifted. "Because I owe you." It was the answer I had been asking for. He made it sound like a defeat. Through the kitchen window, Dad stood at the sink scraping plates too aggressively. Mom said something to him. He shook his head. "Are you okay?" I asked. Aaron laughed once. "You mean, besides my sister tracking my payments and my wife checking the mail like I'm running a second family, I didn't cause either of those things." "I know. You don't sound like you know." He looked out at the backyard. "I love that truck." "I know." "Dad and I rebuilt the engine twice." "I know." I picked up the second water pump. Fuel pump. Whatever. He smiled despite himself. Then the smile disappeared. "When the guy drove it away, I wanted to blame you," he said. "That would be convenient." "It would." "I kept thinking you made me sell it." "I didn't. Dana did." "Dana didn't either." He glanced toward the kitchen. "You two share a pamphlet now?" "We're both irritating in different fonts." He rubbed his hands together against the cold. "I made the decision," he said. "I know that. I just didn't like any of the choices." "Neither did I." "I know." This time he sounded like he did. The back door opened. Dad stepped outside carrying a bag of trash. He stopped when he saw us. "Everything settled?" he asked. "No," I said. Aaron said nothing. Dad dropped the bag into the can and pressed the lid down. $17,000's a serious payment. You can loosen the rope a little." "What rope?" I asked. "The paperwork, the deadlines, treating your brother like he's going to run." Aaron stared at the patio boards. "He missed the first deadline," I said. "By a few days. He missed it. And now he sold something he cared about." "So?" Dad's eyebrows rose. "So that should count." It counted as $17,000. "You know what I mean?" I did. Dad wanted pain to function as payment because pain was what he understood. Aaron had suffered, so the numbers should soften out of respect. "I'm not enjoying this," I said. "I didn't say you were. You asked if I was happy before you drove away." Dad looked toward the yard. "I was upset about the truck. I was upset about the house." "That's different." Aaron lifted his head. Dad heard himself too late. He picked up the trash can lid again, although it was already closed, and pressed it down with both hands. "I'm going inside," he said. After the door shut, Aaron stayed quiet. I could have let him. Instead, I asked, "Why didn't Dad want you to sell the truck?" "He thought I could keep making payments. At $500 a month, he said you'd calm down eventually." The cold moved beneath my collar. Aaron glanced at me, his words not mine. "What did you say?" "I told him you weren't mad about a dinner reservation." "That's not an answer." He sighed. I told him he was probably right. I looked through the window at Dad. He had taken his place at the head of the table again. The bowl of red cherries sat near his elbow. Aaron followed my gaze. "But then Dana asked me something," he said. "What?" "She asked why everybody's plan depended on you getting over it before any of us changed." Inside, Mom began handing out leftover containers. Dad reached for the foil, tore off a crooked sheet, and looked annoyed with the foil. Aaron rubbed his bare ring finger, then seemed to notice and stopped. "I didn't have an answer," he said. You're having a lot of those lately. Yeah. He looked at the covered camper beside the garage. Dad does, though. What answer does he have? Aaron gave me a tired smile. He thinks you always come back. He may be right, I said. Aaron frowned. I do come back. I came to Thanksgiving. I answered Mom's calls. I stood out here and thanked you. That's not what he means. I know he means I come back unchanged. The kitchen door opened again. Mom leaned out. If you two don't claim your leftovers, your father is going to put gravy on everything. I heard that, Dad called. He was holding the gravy, Mom said. Aaron opened the door for me. Inside, Dad had filled 5 containers without asking who wanted what. My apple crisp was sitting beneath a layer of turkey in one of them. You put meat on the dessert, I said. It all ends up in the same place, not in my refrigerator. He removed the turkey with a serving fork, leaving a glossy square of gravy in the corner of the crisp. Under other circumstances, I would have made a joke and eaten it anyway. I put the container back on the counter. Dad watched me do it. I kissed Mom, hugged Dana, and left with the empty pie plate I had brought. The $17,000 transfer cleared the next morning. I subtracted it from the balance and emailed Aaron and Dana an updated copy of the ledger. Aaron replied, received. Dana replied, thank you. Dad called the ledger the scoreboard when Mom mentioned it. I knew because she began to tell me, stopped, and said, never mind. That's his message, not mine. The first snow came before Dad sold the camper. He moved it inside the garage and announced that winter was a bad time to list recreational vehicles. I did not point out that people managed to buy houses in winter. I had started measuring progress by the arguments I no longer attended. Aaron's payments became regular after the truck sold. $500 on the first of every month. Sometimes Dana added $200 from her paycheck. Once Aaron sent $600 and wrote "made good month" in the transfer note. I recorded the extra $100. Their business did not collapse without me. Invoices went out a little later. The fonts occasionally wandered. One customer disputed a change order because Aaron had failed to attach the approval. He handled it. Another paid 3 weeks late. He handled that too. When something went wrong, he sometimes called Dad, who called Mom, who did not call me. That was how I knew she had stopped carrying messages. At Christmas, Mom invited me to dinner and asked me to bring nothing. Nothing? Nothing. You normally need dessert. I bought dessert. From where? The bakery. You hate their frosting. I am expanding as a person. I went. Dad gave me a $200 gift card to Home Depot. He watched me open it. It's useful, he said. I ran my thumb along the edge of the card. For what? Whatever place you get next. Mom looked at him. Aaron stared into his coffee. Dad's expression shifted from confidence to confusion. He had genuinely believed it was encouraging. That was what stopped me from throwing it across the room. Thank you, I said. You're welcome. I put it in my purse and spent it a week later on a narrow dining table for my apartment. The table came in a flat box with instructions that claimed assembly would take 20 minutes. It took 2 hours and required me to remove one leg after installing it backward. When I finished, I sat at it with a glass of wine and ordered 2 chairs online. I had been treating my apartment as a waiting room for 4 years. The books stayed in boxes whenever my lease came near renewal. I owned no table because the next place would have different dimensions. I bought cheap curtains because good ones belonged in a permanent home. The new table fit against the wall beside the radiator. It was not the table I had imagined in the narrow dining room on Marlowe Street. It was still mine. Dad came to see it in January without being invited. I was carrying groceries up the front steps when his car pulled to the curb. He got out wearing his old work jacket and carrying a red toolbox. What are you doing here? Your mother said the kitchen drawer was broken. Aaron fixed it. He stopped on the sidewalk. Aaron fixed your drawer? Yes. When? The day you took my down payment? Dad's mouth thinned. Are you going to let me in? I'm busy. You're holding celery. It's demanding celery. He looked up at my apartment windows. I drove 20 minutes. You should have called. You don't answer. You don't leave messages. What am I supposed to say in a message? What you want? I wanted to fix the drawer. It's fixed. He shifted the toolbox to his other hand. It was the same one he had carried through my childhood. There was a faded sticker on the side from the municipal garage, and one latch had to be hit with your palm before it would close. I can look at the radiator, he said. Your mother says it bangs. All radiators bang. Not if they're pitched correctly. The landlord handles it. He looked at the grocery bags cutting into my fingers. You gonna make me stand out here? You showed up here. I'm your father. That isn't an appointment. His face hardened. So this is how it's going to be now. I don't know. You keep arriving at that sentence instead of asking what would need to change. What do you want me to do, Aaron? Beg? I want you to acknowledge what you did. I made a mistake. The words came so quickly I nearly missed them. Dad seemed surprised too. What mistake? He stared at me. The cold made my fingers ache around the grocery bags. You know what mistake, he said. I want to hear you say it. I should have talked to you. Before? Yes, before. Would you have taken the money if I said no? His eyes moved toward the duplex. I would have found another way. It was an answer to a question I had not asked. Would you have taken it? Dad set the toolbox down on the sidewalk. Aaron was facing foreclosure. So yes, I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He picked the toolbox up again. I came here to help you, he said. You came here with the kind of help you wanted to give. What does that even mean? It means my drawer is fixed. I went inside. From the landing window, I watched him stand beside his car for a while before putting the toolbox in the trunk. He looked smaller from above. I did not feel victorious. Mom came by alone the following weekend. She called first. She brought a cardboard file box containing my birth certificate, old tax returns, college transcripts, expired passports, and every report card I had received after the age of 9. Your father said you wanted all your records, she told me. Did I? No. We stood beside my new table. She ran her hand over the surface. This is nice. Home Depot. She gave me a look. I'm serious. I used Dad's gift card. Oh, I needed a table. Yes, you did. She sat in one of the 2 chairs. I put on coffee. When I set her mug down, she said, He was angry you wouldn't let him upstairs. I know. He said you're shutting him out of your life. I asked him to call. I know. He wanted you to tell me I was being unfair. Yes. But you're not. No. She held the mug between both hands. He's getting harder to live with, she said. I sat across from her. Because of me? Because everything is about you and you aren't there. I waited. She shook her head. That sounded terrible. It sounded honest. He talks about the camper, the truck, the bank, the house. If I ask him to take out the trash, somehow it becomes proof that nobody appreciates what he does for the family. That sounds like Dad. He wasn't always this bad. No, that was true. Dad had worked double shifts when Aaron and I were younger. He had driven through an ice storm to bring me home from college when my car died. He remembered how I took my coffee and forgot my birthday in the same year. He could be generous when generosity let him remain in charge. Mom opened the file box and lifted a folder. He says you're trying to make him feel like a thief. I'm not in charge of what he feels like. He took your money. She said it quietly. It was the first time I had heard her use the verb without softening it. Yes. I knew what account he meant when he said he had a way to help Aaron. The radiator gave one heavy knock. Mom looked toward it, then back at me. I told myself he wouldn't really do it, she said. Then he came home with the receipts, and I told myself he must have spoken to you. Why didn't you ask? Because I was afraid of the answer. There was no graceful response to that. She wiped a drop of coffee from the table with her finger. I'm sorry. I nodded. She looked hurt that I did not immediately absolve her, but she stayed in the chair. We spent an hour sorting the file box. Half the papers could be shredded. Mom insisted on keeping a third-grade certificate praising my excellent citizenship, so I gave it back to her. When she left, she hugged me at the door. "You can call me," I said. "You don't need a message from Dad." I know. This time, she did not add anything. Aaron asked me to meet him for coffee in March. He arrived 5 minutes early, which was so unlike him that I checked whether I had the correct day. He ordered black coffee instead of the caramel drink he usually claimed didn't count as dessert. He had a folder with him. "New repayment schedule," he said. I opened it. The payment increased from $500 to $700 a month. Dana's contributions were listed separately. There was a line for additional payments after large contracts cleared. "You made a spreadsheet." Dana made it. It uses formulas. I watched. I looked up. He smiled faintly. "People can change. Slowly. Very." I closed the folder. "This works for me." He nodded. Neither of us left. After a minute, he said, "Can I ask you something without you putting it in the ledger?" "Depends. The house on Marlowe." "Why that one?" I described the porch, the apple tree, the morning light in the smaller bedroom. I told him about the squirrels and the mystery beneath the sink. He listened. "What were you going to do with the second bedroom?" he asked. I traced a scratch in the tabletop with one fingernail. "Office, mostly." "Mostly?" I looked at him. "I was going to put a sleeper sofa in there," I said, "for Mom and Dad. Later, if they needed it." Aaron went very still. "Dad knew that?" "No." "Why didn't you tell him? He never asked what I was buying. He only asked what you needed." Aaron looked down at his coffee. For once, he did not defend him. He turned his coffee cup in a slow circle. "I should tell him." "Why?" "Because he should know what he took from you. He knows he took a house. He doesn't know you were making room for him. That doesn't make it worse." Aaron looked up. "It shouldn't matter whether I plan to give Dad a bed someday," I said. "The money was mine either way." "I know. Do you?" "Yes." He sat back. "But he has this story where you don't need family the way the rest of us do. The spare room doesn't fit. I'm not interested in improving Dad's story for him." "What if I want to?" "Then tell the truth because it's true. Don't use it to get him to apologize so everyone can have Easter." Aaron looked offended. "I wasn't thinking about Easter. Mom is. That's fair." He opened the sugar container, looked inside, then closed it without taking any. "Would you still have made a room for them?" he asked. "In another house?" "Yeah." "No." The answer surprised both of us. Aaron nodded slowly. "Okay. I might help if they need something. That's different from building access into my home. You make it sound like a fire exit. In this family, access goes one direction." He looked out the window. "I'm sorry," he said. It was quiet and late, and it did not arrive with an explanation attached. I waited anyway. "For which part?" His mouth twisted. "You're really going to make me itemize an apology?" "Yes." "Fine. I'm sorry I signed the checks. I'm sorry I didn't call you. I'm sorry I told Dana you offered when Dad never said that. And I'm sorry that when I knew something was wrong, I decided not knowing the details made me innocent." I ran my thumb along the edge of his new repayment schedule. "Thank you. You're not going to say it's okay?" "No." "Right." He took a drink. I forgot who I was talking to. But he smiled a little when he said it. Our relationship did not heal after coffee. It became more accurate. Aaron stopped calling only when something needed fixing. He sent me a picture when his first properly numbered invoice was paid without questions. I replied with a trophy emoji. He invited me to lunch and included a date, a time, and the sentence, "No favor needed." I went. When I declined something, he sometimes sounded disappointed, but he stopped arguing with my answer. That should not have felt revolutionary. It did. Dana took longer to relax around me. She apologized so often that being with her began to feel like standing beside an alarm that chirped every 40 seconds. One evening, she asked me to meet her after work at a diner near the hospital. She still wore her navy scrubs. There were half moons beneath her eyes. "Aaron thinks you and I talk about him," she said. We're talking about him now. That's what I told him. The waitress filled our coffee cups and called us honey. Dana pulled the paper sleeve off her straw, though she had ordered no drink requiring one. He hid the mortgage notices from me, she said. I waited. I thought we were 1 month behind. We were 3. I thought the state payment plan was current. It wasn't. He kept telling himself the Rawson money would come through before I needed to know. That sounds like him. I keep checking everything now. The bank, the mail, the business account. He says I treat him like an employee. What do you want me to say? I don't know. You're allowed to be mad at him without turning me into the reason. Her eyes dropped. I know. You're also allowed to forgive him without asking me to do it first. I'm not there. Then don't be. The waitress returned with menus we had not requested. We both ordered pie. Before we left, Dana put $700 in an envelope and slid it across the table. Aaron sent this month's payment yesterday. This is extra? Overtime. Keep it. I want to pay you. You did not sign those checks because you thought my consent was optional. I accepted what they bought. You believed I offered. I should have verified. Yes, you should have. But Aaron and Dad created the lie you failed to check. If you keep paying from every extra shift, Aaron gets to learn responsibility using your body. She stared at me. That sounded less strange in my head, I said. No, I understand. She pulled the envelope back. I expected relief. Instead, she looked close to tears. No one has ever told me to stop making Aaron's consequences easier, she said. I laughed once. That might be the family business. She laughed too. Dad did not appreciate the new repayment schedule. He called it excessive and told Aaron $700 a month would weaken the business. Aaron reduced one payment to $500 after an equipment repair, then added the missing $200 the following month without me asking. Dad sent nothing. When I mailed him a written request for the $1,460 I had lost on the inspection and appraisal, he called before the letter could have been in his house for an hour. You sent me an invoice? It's not an invoice. It has a balance due. It has a total. You got your earnest money back. I lost the fees. That happens when a purchase falls through. The purchase fell through because you emptied the account. Aaron is repaying the money. I'm asking you to repay the direct cost of what you did. I'm selling the camper. You haven't listed it. It needs detailing. It has needed detailing since November. You know what? I'll get it done when I get it done. Put that in writing. He hung up. Mom called the next day and did not mention the conversation. Instead, she asked if I would show her how to turn on banking alerts. I can explain it over the phone. I'd rather do it while you're here. I'm not taking over your finances. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to sit next to me while I do it. There was a difference. I went Saturday morning. Mom had set her laptop on the kitchen table beside a notebook and 2 sharpened pencils. Dad was in the garage. I suspected this timing was not accidental. She logged in herself. She had written the password on a sticky note stuck to the side of the computer. You can't leave that there. Your father never looks at the side. Burglars might. Then they'll be disappointed by the checking balance. I made her move it into the notebook. She turned on alerts for withdrawals over $500, transfers, low balances, and password changes. Then she changed the account recovery number from Dad's cell phone to hers. You'll get a lot of messages, I warned. I want to. The back door opened. Dad came in smelling like grass clippings, even though the yard barely needed mowing. He saw the banking page on the screen. What are you doing? Setting alerts, Mom said. For what? The accounts. We don't need alerts. I do. He looked at me. This your idea? No. You just happen to be here? She is showing me where to click, Mom said. I asked her. Dad set his work gloves on the counter. So now I need supervision every time I buy gas. The alert is set for $500. What am I buying at a gas station for $500? That was my point. He pulled out a chair but did not sit. You're making me feel like I can't be trusted with my own money. Mom's hand stopped on the keyboard. It's my money too, she said. Nobody said it wasn't. You refinanced the bathroom without telling me the full amount. You went to Dennis about a credit line without telling me. You withdrew Aaron's money and came home with receipts. I was fixing a problem. I want to know when you fix the next one." Dad's face went red. I closed the laptop. "This has nothing to do with Aaron," Mom said before he could accuse me. "It has everything to do with her. 6 months ago, you trusted me. 6 months ago, I was choosing not to know things. Because you knew I handled them. Because I knew you would get angry if I asked." The refrigerator hummed. Dad looked at me. "You enjoying this?" "No." "You've turned your mother against me." Mom stood. At first I thought she was going to leave the room. Instead, she picked up his work gloves and held them out. "No," she said. "You don't get to make her responsible for what I say." He took the gloves. Mom's hand shook after she released them, but she kept looking at him. Dad left through the back door. A few seconds later, the lawnmower started again. Mom sat. "I may have overdone the alerts," she said. "You can turn off the low balance one. I hate that one already." We turned it off. On my way out, I passed the garage. The blue cover had been removed from the camper. One side was washed and bright. The other was streaked with winter dirt. Dad stood near the mower, though the patch of grass in front of him had been cut down almost to soil. He did not look at me. Summer raised my rent by $75 and brought a leak through the ceiling above my new dining table. My landlord fixed the roof but left a pale brown ring in the plaster. For 3 nights I sat beneath it and looked at real estate listings. Then I called Camille. "I'm ready to see things again." She did not congratulate me. She asked for my new budget. It was lower. The restored money, my renewed savings, and the earnest refund gave me enough to start, but not enough to shop where I had before without making myself fragile again. "How far are you willing to go?" she asked. "Farther. From work. From my parents." She paused only long enough for me to know she understood. We saw houses with collapsing decks, wet basements, and kitchens apparently designed by people angry at cabinets. One had a toilet in the laundry room with no walls around it. "Convenient," Camille said, "for very specific marriages." Another had beautiful windows and foundation cracks wide enough to accept mail. I learned not to fall in love during showings. Aaron's $700 arrived every month. Dana added money when she chose, not because she believed she had to drain herself first. The balance dropped below $30,000, then below $28,000. Dad's $1,460 remained unpaid. Near the end of August, Camille sent me a listing just before midnight. It was in a small town farther east, 25 minutes beyond the area we had been searching. The house had peeling gray paint, a narrow kitchen, and no apple tree. It was smaller than the Marlowe house and cheaper than anything we had seen that summer. The front steps leaned. The second bedroom had a single window facing morning light. I read the listing twice. Then I noticed the agent remarks. "Seller prefers conventional financing. No sale contingency. Quick close appreciated." For the first time in months, the word close did not feel like something being taken away. I texted Camille. "How early can we see it?" Camille replied at 6:07 the next morning, 9:30. "Wear shoes you can ruin." The house sat at the end of a street where every mailbox leaned in a different direction. Its gray paint had faded, almost white on the sunny side. One shutter was missing. The front steps did not merely lean, they seemed to be reconsidering their relationship with the porch. Camille stood at the bottom and looked up. "Still interested?" "Absolutely." "Your standards have matured. My standards have been mugged." Inside, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and old wood. The living room was small enough that a full-size couch would need to choose between blocking the front door and blocking the hallway. The kitchen cabinets had been painted dark blue with a brush that shed bristles into the finish. I opened one. A single yellow mug sat on the shelf. "Staging?" I asked. "Threat," Camille said. "They want you to know one mug fits." The bathroom had pale pink tile in perfect condition. The basement was dry. The electrical panel had been updated, the roof was 6 years old, and the furnace looked younger than I was. The second bedroom faced east. Sunlight fell across the bare floor in one bright rectangle. I stood inside it. There was no room for a sleeper sofa and a desk unless I wanted overnight guests to sleep beneath my computer. The closet was narrow. The window stuck halfway open. When Camille tried to close it, the sash came down with a bang that made both of us jump. "Character," she said. "Assault." The backyard was mostly clover, with a chain-link fence and a maple tree near the alley. A neighboring garage had a mural of a blue heron painted across one side. The bird was either elegant or judging me. I walked around the house twice. The first time, I saw repairs. The second time, I saw my table beside the living room radiator, the books along the short hallway, and a green front door where the peeling white ones stood. That frightened me more than the leaning steps. Camille waited in the kitchen while I read the seller's disclosure. "Multiple showings today?" I asked. "7, counting us." "Any offers?" "1 expected. Maybe 2. I looked through the kitchen window. The heron stared back. "What's the responsible number?" She named it. "What's the number that gets it?" That's not the same question. I know. The seller wants speed and clean terms. Your financing is solid. You can offer a little above list and still appraise. Probably. But you don't have room for a bidding war unless you reduce your down payment or use cash you've set aside for repairs. I had learned the difference between having enough money to buy a house and having enough money to survive owning one. "Write it at the responsible number," I said. "You sure?" "No." That's the traditional emotional state. We submitted before lunch. At 4, the seller's agent asked for highest and best. Another buyer had offered more. Camille called while I was standing beside a loading dock at work, waiting for a driver to explain why 3 pallets of disinfectant wipes had arrived at the wrong clinic. "How much higher can you go?" she asked. I gave her a number 2,000 above my original offer. You could technically do more. "I know. You want my opinion?" "Yes. Don't chase it past that." The loading dock door rattled open. A man in a neon vest rolled out a pallet and announced to no one, "These wipes have traveled." I closed my eyes. "Submit it," I said. The seller chose an offer 6,000 above mine. Camille gave me the news that evening. "I'm sorry. I hate that house." "No, you don't." The steps were trying to leave. They were. The kitchen held 1 mug, a serious defect. I sat at my Home Depot table, looking at the pale water stain on the ceiling. I could have gone higher. You could have. I could have pulled from the repair fund. Yes, I could have reduced the down payment. Yes. "You're supposed to tell me I did the right thing. You did the right thing. Too late. It sounds requested now." She laughed. After we hung up, I opened my savings account. The money was still there. Disappointment felt different when it did not come with betrayal. It was clean. It hurt in one place. I ordered takeout and saved the listing in a folder called Not Mine. Mom called the next evening. "How was the house?" "Not mine." "Oh, honey. It's okay. Did they want more money?" "6,000 more than I offered." "You could have—" She stopped. "No. Never mind." "What?" "You could have gone higher if everything were different. Everything isn't." "I know. She invited me to dinner Sunday. Just dinner. No meeting. Who's coming?" "Everybody." That sounds like a meeting. It's pot roast. As if pot roast prevented agendas. I agreed anyway. When I arrived, Dad was in the living room watching golf with the sound muted. He nodded at me but did not stand. The camper was visible through the front window, uncovered and gleaming. "Looks clean," I said. "Did it myself." "Are you listing it?" "Market's soft. It's August. People buy before summer. People also buy after summer." He turned the sound up. Mom called me into the kitchen before I could decide whether to continue. "I made too much," she said. "You always make too much." "This is more than usual. Are we expecting the fire department? I don't know how much people eat anymore when you don't make the list." That was as close as she came to saying she missed the way things had been. I sliced carrots while she checked the roast. She had learned to use her banking app and now announced every feature she discovered as if she had personally invented it. I deposited a check with the camera. Welcome to 2013. It went through overnight. It's a miracle. Dad entered for ice and heard us laughing. His face softened briefly. Then he remembered the arrangement of the family and opened the freezer. Aaron and Dana arrived separately. Dana had worked that day and came directly from the hospital. Aaron had been pricing a commercial repair and arrived 20 minutes later, apologizing before he removed his shoes. Dad noticed. "Since when do you apologize for being late? Since people stopped pretending it wasn't annoying." He glanced at me when he said it. We ate at the kitchen table. For a while, conversation stayed safe. Dana described a patient who had brought his own pillow to an outpatient procedure and then forgotten it. Mom discussed the heron mural because I had shown her the listing. Dad complained that professional golfers dress like salesmen. Then Mom said, "I'm sorry about the house, Aaron." Dad looked at me. "What house?" "The one she offered on." "You made an offer?" "Yes." "You didn't tell us." "I told Mom. I'm included in us. Then ask her things without making her your courier." He set his fork down. Mom reached for her water. Aaron said, "What happened?" "Someone offered $6,000 more." Dad frowned. "You couldn't match it?" "I chose not to." "You lost a house over $6,000? "I declined to overpay by $6,000. "Same result." "No, you have the money. I have some of the money." Aaron's shoulders tightened. Dad noticed. "Your brother is paying you." "I know. At a pretty aggressive rate. It's the rate he proposed, after you pressured him." Dana said, "I proposed it." Dad waved one hand. "Fine, both of you. My point is, the balance is coming down. You didn't need to walk away from a good house over a few $1,000s. It had leaning steps and a hostile mug. Let's not oversell it." Mom almost smiled. Dad did not. "I'm serious. At some point, you have to stop making every decision around what happened last year. I made the decision around what I can afford now. You could afford more if you counted the repayments coming in. Those aren't guaranteed." Aaron looked at his plate. Dad said, "He's your brother. Of course they're guaranteed." I waited. Aaron put down his fork. "No, they're not." Dad turned toward him. "Excuse me, I missed the first payment." "You caught up." Dana caught me up. Dana's eyes moved to him. Aaron went on. "Then I sold the truck because that was the only way to return a serious amount. If the Rawson dispute had gone differently or another customer held money, I could have missed more. Aaron's right not to borrow against promises." Dad's face tightened. "I didn't say borrow. You said count it like she has it. Because she will have it. Eventually." The room went quiet. Dad looked around the table. "Why are we doing this again?" I said. "You brought it up." "I made one observation about a house." "You made an observation about her money," Mom said. His chair creaked as he leaned back. "I am trying to help my daughter understand that she has choices." Aaron gave a short laugh. Dad looked at him. "Something funny? You only talk about Aaron's choices after you make one for her." "Aaron," Mom said, "but not as a warning. More like surprise." Dad's face darkened. "Be careful." "No." The word came from Aaron so calmly that everybody stopped. He looked at me once, then back at Dad. "She didn't help me," he said. "You keep saying she helped, or we helped, or the family moved money around. She didn't choose any of it." "I never said she chose. You told me she did. I said she understood. You said you handled it." I knew that didn't mean she had actually agreed, and I signed anyway. Dad stared at him. Aaron's voice roughened, but he continued. "I took the money because I wanted my house more than I cared whether she lost hers. That's what happened. You can stop protecting me from the sentence." Dana sat very still. Mom's hand covered her mouth. Dad looked at me as though I had taught Aaron the words. "I didn't ask him to say that," I said. "No, you just spent a year turning everyone against me." Aaron shook his head. "This isn't against you. It sounds pretty damn against me. It's the receipt, Dad." Dad pushed his chair away from the table. "The receipt shows what the money paid," Aaron said. "It doesn't show consent. I know what a receipt is." "Then stop calling it help." Dad stood. Mom said, "Sit down, Frank." He looked at her. She did not look away. He sat, but only because leaving would have admitted something too. The roast cooled between us. After a minute, he said, "I was trying to save your home." Aaron nodded. "By taking hers." There was no time. There was time to call her. She would have said no. Nobody moved. Dad's eyes shifted to me. It was the first completely honest thing he had said about that morning. "Yes," I said. "I would have." His face changed. For 1 second, he looked less angry than lost. Then he reached for his fork. "We're all here now," he said. Everybody survived. I thought about the yellow mug, the sunlit floor, the house I had refused to chase beyond what I could afford. "Surviving a decision doesn't make it yours to make," I said. Dad cut into the cold roast and did not answer. After dinner, Aaron carried dishes to the sink. Dad disappeared into the garage. Mom packed leftovers, but this time she asked what each person wanted. When she handed me a container, she said, "He heard it. That doesn't mean he accepted it. No." Through the window, I could see Dad standing beside the polished camper. He ran one hand along the door, then opened it and climbed inside. The interior light came on. He sat there alone, surrounded by the thing he still refused to sell. The camper stayed in the garage through the first frost. Dad stopped sending me listings that proved its value. He also stopped mentioning the $1,460. At family dinners, he spoke to me about weather, road construction, and the price of groceries. If I answered, he acted relieved. If I did not come, he told Mom I was still punishing him. Mom no longer passed that along unless I asked. Aaron made his September payment early. In October, a commercial customer finally paid a disputed balance, and he sent me an additional $4,000. He called before transferring it. "I can send 6, he said, "but 2 would come out of the tax account. Keep the tax money. That delays paying you. It prevents you from needing rescue money next April." He was quiet. "4, he said. "4 is good. Dana said you'd say that. Dana is very smart. You two are becoming a problem. We were always a problem. You just had Dad between us." He laughed. That did not mean everything between us was fixed. He still became defensive when I asked about late payments. I still assumed every friendly call would become a favor. Dana still checked the mail before he did. Trust returned in pieces too small to enter on my spreadsheet, but it returned. I saw Dad at Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Mom's next birthday. He did not apologize. He did not ask me to forgive him. We reached a strange civility built from topics that could not hold money. He told me the city had finally replaced a stop sign near his house. I told him Celeste had been promoted and now supervised 2 clinics in addition to purchasing. He said the Bengals needed a better offensive line. I said nothing because even emotional estrangement did not make me qualified to discuss the Bengals. The camper remained. Winter listings came and went. Camille and I toured a ranch house with a basement that smelled like a wet dog despite the absence of any visible dog. We saw a condo with beautiful floors and a monthly fee high enough to include a personal chef, though it did not. I made an offer on a small brick house near my office and withdrew it after the inspection found foundation movement. That withdrawal hurt. It also felt powerful. No one had removed the choice from my hands. No one had told me a cracked wall mattered less because somebody else needed something more. When spring returned, my savings crossed the number I had privately chosen before I would try again. The balance Aaron and Dana owed fell below $12,000. Dad's name existed nowhere in my banking profile, emergency contacts, loan documents, or passwords. Mom asked once whether that was necessary. "Yes," I said. She nodded. Dad asked more than once, always through statements. "You know I can't access anything now." "Correct. If you got hit by a bus, nobody could help." "My beneficiary could." "Who's that?" "Not information you need." He looked wounded. I let him. The house I eventually bought appeared on a Tuesday in July, buried beneath 3 listings Camille had sent with the note, "The second one has carpet in the bathroom, so emotionally prepare." It was in Bellwood, a town small enough to have one grocery store and large enough for two competing pizza places. From my parents' house, the drive took 34 minutes without traffic. From work, it took 31. The listing photographs were terrible. One showed half the kitchen and most of the photographer's thumb. Another made the living room look the width of a closet. The front exterior shot had been taken on a cloudy day with both trash cans visible. "I love whoever marketed this," Camille said when we met there. "They have protected us from competition." The house was a 2-bedroom bungalow with cream siding, brown trim, and a front step that shifted when stepped on near the left corner. The living room was bigger than it had looked online. The kitchen was smaller, which seemed statistically unfair. Someone had painted the cabinets a yellowish beige that matched old masking tape. The bedroom carpet was blue. The dining area had a brass chandelier shaped like an upside-down tulip. I walked through without imagining anything. Then I walked through again. The smaller bedroom faced east. It had no special light, just ordinary morning sun through ordinary blinds. The backyard held a square patio, a maple tree, and enough space for a garden if I ever became the kind of person who remembered to water things. The basement was dry. The electrical panel was current. The furnace had 3 to 5 years left, according to the sticker and Camille's pessimism. "What's wrong with it?" I asked. "The paint is ugly. I mean structurally. The step needs repair. The gutters are old. There's evidence of a past leak near the chimney, but the roof is newer, so it may already be corrected. You'll need an inspection. No mystery beneath the sink?" She opened the cabinet. A bottle of dish soap stood beside a clean bucket. Suspiciously normal. The house had been owned by a woman moving to live near her sister. She wanted a straightforward sale, conventional financing, and 30 days to close. There were no other offers. I stood in the living room beneath the tulip chandelier. "What's the responsible number?" I asked. Camille told me. "Write it." The offer was accepted that night. I did not tell my family. I told Celeste, who brought sparkling water to work the next morning, because neither of us believed champagne belonged near purchase orders. I told my loan officer. I told the inspector when to arrive. The inspection found a loose front step, aging gutters, a bathroom fan vented into the attic, and no evidence of an active leak. The seller agreed to repair the vent and credit part of the gutter cost. I deposited the earnest money from my new account. The transfer alert appeared on my phone seconds later. For a moment, my body reacted before my mind did. My chest tightened. My hands went cold. I stared at the amount and the last 4 digits of the account. Then I saw my own name. I had authorized it. I knew where the money went. I had a confirmation number in my email and a receipt in the transaction folder Camille had helped me build. I sat in my car outside the bank until the feeling passed. Mom was the first person in the family I told. I asked her to meet me for lunch at the diner where Dana and I had once divided blame over pie. Mom ordered a chicken salad sandwich and spent 5 minutes removing every visible piece of celery. "I made an offer on a house," I said. She set down her fork. "When?" "2 weeks ago. And inspection is done. Financing is moving. Closing is August 23rd. Her eyes filled. "Oh, Erin, don't cry yet. I'm happy. I know. Where is it?" "Bellwood." "That's farther." "Yes." She caught the next sentence before it left her mouth. Instead, she said, "Will that be all right for your commute?" "I've driven it at rush hour. It's manageable." "Does it have 2 bedrooms?" "Yes." She looked down at her plate. "The second room is going to be an office," I said. "Good. And maybe a guest room someday. For guests I invite." Mom nodded. "I understand. I need you not to tell Dad until I do." Her face fell slightly. "All right, I mean it." I said all right. She kept the promise. I told Erin and Dana together that weekend. Erin's first question was whether I had enough left after closing for repairs. Dana elbowed him. "What?" he said. "That's a responsible question." "It is," I told him. "Yes." His second question was whether I wanted him to inspect the front step. The inspector already did. Inspectors don't know concrete. It's wood. Then he definitely doesn't know concrete. Dana said, "Congratulations," before she throws us out. Aaron smiled. "Congratulations," he said, seriously. Dana hugged me. Aaron waited. I hugged him too. He did not ask whether he would have a key. Dad found out the following evening. I called him directly. I bought a house. Silence. Then, "Your mother knew." "Yes." "How long?" "A few days." "You told her not to tell me?" "Yes." He breathed out slowly. "Where is it?" "Bellwood." "That's half an hour away. About that." "Why would you go all the way out there?" "Because the house works for me. You'll hate that drive. I've driven it." "Which street?" I told him. He repeated the address as if testing whether it sounded legitimate. "When do you close?" "August 23rd. That soon?" "It's 30 days. You should have me look at it. The inspection is finished. Inspectors miss things. I know. I can drive out tomorrow." "No." He went quiet again. "No? I'm not showing it to anyone until after closing. I'm your father. You were my father during the last closing, too." The words landed. I heard him inhale. "You think I'd do something to this deal? I think I need to finish it without managing anyone else's opinion. I'm trying to help." I didn't ask. "That's your favorite sentence now. It saves time." He made a frustrated sound. "Fine. Call me when you need something." "I will." We both knew I might not. The financing moved forward without drama. Every time my lender requested a statement, I sent one. Every time a form listed my assets, they remained where I had put them. No one offered an emergency. No account changed overnight. Aaron sent the remaining balance 4 days before my closing. He and Dana had refinanced part of their business debt after a full year of cleaner records, and a profitable summer contract covered the rest. The final transfer was larger than his usual payment. I watched the number clear. Then I emailed them a copy of the ledger marked balance, $0.00. Dana called me immediately. "Is that it?" "That's it." Aaron came onto the line. "So we're done?" "The money is repaid. That's not what I asked." I looked around my apartment at the packed boxes. "No," I said, "we're not done. But we're not where we were." He let out a breath. "I'll take that." Closing took 47 minutes. Camille sat beside me and slid a peppermint across the table every time someone handed me another form. The closing agent explained each document. I read everything anyway. When the keys were placed in my palm, there were 3 of them on a plain metal ring. No copies for emergencies, no extra key labeled Mom and Dad. Outside, Camille hugged me. "You did it." "I did." "You look terrified." "I am. That's also traditional." I drove to Bellwood alone. The house smelled like empty rooms and the lemon cleaner the seller had used before leaving. I walked through every space, turning on lights, opening closets, checking faucets. In the smaller bedroom, morning sun had moved across the floor and disappeared. I stood there anyway. The loose front step shifted when I went back outside. I sat on the porch and held the keys until the edges pressed marks into my palm. Moving day brought Celeste, Camille, Dana, Aaron, and Mom. Dad was not invited. Mom arrived carrying shelf liner, paper towels, and a new toaster. "You owned a toaster," she said. "I still own a toaster. This one has wider slots." Aaron drove the white van. Its belt had been replaced, and it only made one alarming sound when turning left. Before touching the front step, he asked, "Do you want me to fix this?" "Yes." He fixed it. By late afternoon, my table stood beneath the upside-down tulip chandelier. My books filled the hallway shelves. The blue bedroom carpet remained offensively blue, but the bed frame was assembled and level. Mom left last. At the door, she held both my hands. "Your father sold the camper," she said. I looked past her toward the street. "When?" "Yesterday." "How much?" "Enough to cover what you asked for and some of the other costs." "Why now?" "He said you bought the house without him. That doesn't answer the question." "No." She squeezed my hands. "He wants to bring you a check." "Not tonight," I told him. "Thank you." She nodded and walked to her car. I went inside and locked the door. The next morning, while I was drinking coffee from the one mug I had unpacked, a car pulled into my driveway. Dad got out holding a white bank envelope. He looked at the house, then at the front step Aaron had repaired. He walked to my door and knocked. I let him knock twice before opening the door. Dad stood on the porch in the same old work shirt he had worn the morning he took the money. The grease stain below his shoulder had faded, but it was still there. "Morning," he said. "It's 7:40. That's morning. It's moving weekend." "I know." He looked past me into the living room. Boxes lined the wall. My dining table was assembled beneath the brass tulip chandelier, and one of Mom's rolls of shelf liner sat on the floor where she had left it. Dad held out the white envelope. I sold the camper. So Mom said, $9,800. Pete was offering $8. This wasn't Pete. "Congratulations." He lowered the envelope slightly. "Are you going to take this?" "What is it?" "A check. I can see the bank logo." He glanced toward the driveway, already irritated by the requirement that nouns have details. $4,900, he said. "Half the camper. Why half? Your mother said half was hers." "She's right. I know she's right." The speed of that answer surprised me. He held out the envelope again. I took it but did not open it. "What is the money for?" "You. Birthday money? Don't do that, then tell me." His eyes moved to the front step. He pressed one shoe against the repaired corner. "Aaron fixed this?" "Yes. He should have replaced the whole board. It doesn't need replacing. You can see where the wood's starting to split. The inspector said it's fine." Inspectors. I waited. Dad put his hands in his pockets. $1,460 was what you asked for, he said. "The inspection and the appraisal." "Yes. The rest is for the other costs." "What other costs?" "The rent increase. The second inspection on the brick place, whatever you lost because you had to wait. I withdrew from the brick place because of the foundation. You wouldn't have been looking at it if you'd gotten the first house." "That's not how costs work." "Well, it's how this check works." I opened the envelope. The check was from my parents' joint account signed by Dad. The memo line said, "House expenses. Does Mom know you wrote this?" She got an alert. Despite myself, I looked up. Dad's mouth moved, not quite becoming a smile. "She called before I got out of the driveway," he said. "Asked what the check was, who it was for, and whether I planned to tell her." "What did you say?" I told her the truth. That must have been efficient. She didn't think that was funny either. I looked at the check again. Did she agree? Yes. To all $4,900? Yes. She said my half of the camper should go toward what I cost you. He said the last 4 words while watching the house across the street. "What did you cost me?" His jaw tightened. "Aaron, I need to know what you think this settles. It settles the money. Aaron and Dana settled the money. It settles my part." "What is your part?" Dad took a step toward the door. I stayed where I was. He looked down and seemed to notice the threshold between us. "I made the withdrawal," he said. "From my account." "Yes," without asking. "I told you I should have talked to you." "That isn't the same sentence." He lifted his chin. "You want me to use exact words so you can decide if they're good enough?" "Yes, at least you're honest. I've been honest the whole time. That's debatable." "No, it's been inconvenient. That isn't the same thing." He looked over my shoulder again. "Are we doing this on the porch?" "Yes, I drove all the way to Bellwood. You knew where Bellwood was when you left home. Your neighbors are going to think we're fighting. My neighbors don't know us." "Exactly." I folded the envelope around the check. Dad watched me. "I took money from an account my name was legally on," he said. "I used it to keep Aaron from losing his house. I believed I could replace it before your closing. You knew you might not." "Yes." "You knew I hadn't agreed." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Yes." The word was quiet. I waited for an explanation. He gave me one anyway. "I knew you'd say no. That was my right. I know that now. You knew it then." He closed his eyes briefly. "Fine. I knew it then." A pickup passed on the street, towing a small landscaping trailer. Dad watched it until it turned at the corner. "I thought if I called you," he said, "you'd ask questions we didn't have time to answer. You'd want to see the mortgage notice and the tax bill. You'd want Aaron to tell Dana the truth. You'd say no until you understood everything. That sounds reasonable. It felt impossible. For you, for Aaron, still not me." Dad nodded once. "You were always better with a setback," he said. There it was again, but this time it sounded less like praise. "You lost that promotion 8 years ago and you went back to work the next morning. When your fiancé left, you canceled the caterer yourself. When your car died, you took the bus for 6 weeks and didn't ask me for a dime. I asked you for a ride to the dealership. You asked once. You said you were busy helping Aaron quote a garage." He looked at the porch railing. "I don't remember that." "I do. I'm not saying I handled everything right. You keep using my ability to survive something as proof it was acceptable to do it." "No." "Yes. I'm saying I knew you'd recover. And what did you know about Aaron?" He did not answer. "You knew he might not," I said. Dad's shoulders lowered. "He's my son. I'm your daughter. I know. Do you?" His face changed. Not much. Dad did not have a face built for surrender, but the anger left his mouth first, then his eyes. "I thought you were safe," he said. "I was." He looked at the envelope in my hand. "I used that," he said. The front door pressed lightly against my shoulder as the morning breeze moved it. Inside, the refrigerator turned on with a low hum. Dad stared into the living room. "I'm sorry," he said. I waited. He gave a tired, humorless laugh. "Itemized?" "Yes, of course." He pulled one hand from his pocket and counted on his fingers. "I'm sorry I took the money. I'm sorry I lied to Aaron about you agreeing. I'm sorry I let you lose the house because I decided his emergency mattered more. I'm sorry I kept calling it help after you asked me to stop. And I'm sorry I thought paying it back would mean I didn't have to say any of that." I looked at him. "Did Mom write that?" She suggested some themes. That sounded like Mom. "Do you mean it?" I sold the camper. "That wasn't my question." His face tightened, but he did not retreat into anger. "Yes," he said. "I mean it." I stepped inside. Dad moved forward automatically. I held up one hand. "Wait here." His foot stopped inches from the threshold. I went to the kitchen, found the small notebook I had been using for house expenses, and tore out a clean page. I wrote the date, the amount, and the check number. Received from Frank Walsh, $4,900.00 as reimbursement for expenses and losses resulting from the unauthorized withdrawal of Aaron Walsh's house funds. Financial balance paid in full. I signed beneath it. When I returned, Dad was still outside. I handed him the page. He read it twice. "You had to write unauthorized." It was. "And financial balance." Yes. "What does that mean?" "It means the money is settled." But money isn't the whole relationship." He folded the receipt along the line where I had torn it from the notebook. "I thought the point of paying you was to put this behind us. The point of paying me was to pay me. So I sold the camper, Aaron sold the truck, everybody spends almost 2 years paying you back, and we're still standing on the porch." "Yes." He looked into the house again. "Can I come in?" "Not today." His mouth opened. I thought he might yell. I thought he might say he was my father, that he had driven 34 minutes, that no family should need an invitation to cross a doorway. Instead, he looked at the receipt in his hand. "What do I have to do?" he asked. "For today? For you to trust me again?" "I don't know. That's not very helpful. It's honest." He shook his head. "So there's no plan. There are boundaries. Same thing, apparently, no. A plan promises an outcome. A boundary tells you what I will do. And what will you do? I'll talk to you when you speak to me respectfully. I'll see you when we agree to see each other. I'll help when I choose to help. You won't have a key. You won't be on my accounts. You won't come into my house because you drove here with a check or a toolbox." I didn't bring the toolbox. I noticed. He put the receipt in his shirt pocket. "Your brother gets invited." Aaron asked before fixing the step. I would have asked. You didn't ask before coming over. He looked toward his car. This house is farther away on purpose, isn't it? The house worked for me. That's not an answer. It's the only one you need. Dad nodded slowly. He walked down the steps, then turned at the driveway. For what it's worth, he said, the place looks solid. You haven't been inside. I can tell from the roofline. Inspectors, I reminded him. He almost smiled. Then he got into his car and left. I deposited the check that afternoon. In my repayment spreadsheet, I entered Dad's payment on the final line. The balance displayed 0. I did not delete the file. I saved it, closed the laptop, and unpacked the kitchen. The first dinner I hosted was 3 weeks later. I invited Mom, Aaron, Dana, Celeste, and Camille. Then I called Dad. Saturday at 5, I said, if you want to come. He was quiet long enough that I checked the screen to make sure the call had not dropped. I want to come. Okay. Should I bring tools? No. Food? Ask Mom. She'll tell me not to bring anything. Then bring nothing. He arrived at 4:58 carrying nothing. He knocked, although the door was open behind the screen. I let him in. Dad stood in the living room and looked around without touching anything. His eyes moved over the shelves, the blue bedroom carpet visible down the hall, and the tulip chandelier above my table. That light's ugly, he said. It's terrible. I can change it. I know how. He nodded. Of course you do. Mom arrived with enough food for 12 people. Aaron brought a level, claimed it did not count as a tool because it was a housewarming gift, and put it on the counter without using it. Dana brought pie. Celeste and Camille brought wine and competed to tell the least flattering story about me. Dad sat where I told him to sit. Dinner was not perfect. He interrupted Mom twice. Aaron showed up with one container too few for leftovers. Dana and I disagreed about whether the blue carpet could be saved. Camille said it could be saved only by fire, which led Dad to explain carpet installation for 9 uninterrupted minutes. But when the meal ended, no one expected me to pack every container, schedule the next gathering, or solve a bill. They asked. I said yes to some things and no to others. When everyone left, Dad lingered on the porch. Good dinner, he said. Thanks. He glanced toward the door. He did not ask for a key. Call me if the step moves again, he said. I will if I want your help. He nodded. That's what I meant. Dad walked to his car. I closed the door and turned the lock. The 3 keys hung on a hook beside it, exactly where I had put them.